Chapter 359. Let's part here. I can't continue to send you off. Su Mo told Li Zongjiu. Su Mo's troop was stationed in another area. The troop in charge of Heavenly Star Medicine Manor's expedition wasn't Su Mo's troop. Different troops had different areas of jurisdiction. If they rashly overstepped their boundaries, it would cause some misunderstandings. Alright, let's meet again if fate allows it. Li Zongjiu cupped his fists at Su Mo. Su Mo possessed the inextinguishable flame seed in his body. Coupled with the protection of the fire glass flower, he would definitely be able to achieve great things in the Vermilion Bird military. This expedition to White Blaze Mountain might have seemed easy, but in reality, Su Mo would have died twice if Li Zongjiu hadn't been present. Just counting the number of people who died, they had already died twice. If any other accidents had occurred, he might not have been able to walk out alive even if he had 10 lives. If Li Zongjiu hadn't gotten rid of so many terrifying meta beasts in the cave, the idiotic trio wouldn't have been able to enter. They would have probably been crippled by a large group of meta beasts the moment they entered. Li Zongjiu's bloody battle in the cave could be said to be the most desperate battle he had ever experienced since his rebirth. If it hadn't been for the thorough use of his origin energy and the power of his origin spirit, Li Zongjiu might not have been able to get rid of these meta beasts so easily. If it had been anyone else, even if it was a Yuan King level powerhouse, they would have been defeated. There was a high chance that they would have died there. Therefore, it wasn't that this place wasn't dangerous, but that Li Zongjiu was too strong. Li Zongjiu took a casual inventory after plundering the spiritual herbs of the trio. He had found more than 100 stalks of high-quality spiritual herbs. It was clear that the trio's standard was pretty good. After all, these people were students of the Heavenly Horizon A course. If they didn't have any skills or specialties, it would have been really difficult for them to enter the Heavenly Horizon A course. The sky had just begun to darken. However, someone had already returned from the campsite. The person who returned was none other than Li Zongjiu. Originally, Li Zongjiu planned to use the rest of the time to search the surroundings and see if there were any precious medicinal herbs. However, the three fools directly delivered these herbs to him, so he didn't even need to look for them. Naturally, Li Zongjiu wouldn't be so troublesome. If he had the time, he might as well cultivate. At this time, Li Zongjiu's mind was only filled with cultivation. Cultivation made him happy. There was also the matter of the Yi clan. It seemed that after returning to the city, he would have to make a trip to Lone Moon's residence. This Yi Lone Moon was really arrogant. What kind of status did he have in society? He actually dared to give such an assassination order directly. He really didn't know what was good for him. You. Which class are you from? You're back so soon. A mentor saw Li Zongjiu and suddenly widened his eyes. There was still a whole night's time, but he didn't speed up the search and instead came back early. It was obvious that he had given up on the competition. Li Zongjiu. Why are you back so soon? At first, Ling Yan didn't dare to believe it. However, she had already felt a familiar aura from afar, so she walked out. When she saw Li Zongjiu coming back, although she was surprised, she wasn't very surprised. It seemed that she had already expected this. Oh, I've already found the wrong one. Anyway, it's the first place. It doesn't matter if there are more or less. Li Zongjiu said very calmly. Hearing Li Zongjiu's words, some of the surrounding instructors couldn't help but laugh out loud. This brat was too arrogant, wasn't he? Ling Yan, is this the genius of your class? He really has a lot of potential. Hu Fei, my class's matters have nothing to do with you. Clearly, Ling Yan was very unhappy with the person who came out to laugh at her. Li Zongjiu also felt that the somewhat young man in front of him was somewhat familiar. Wasn't he the class teacher of those three idiots? Although Hu Fei and Ling Yan were both mentors of this Sky STEM Department's A class, their relationship wasn't very good. It was said that Hu Fei and Ling Yan had once dumped a close friend of Ling Yan's, so Ling Yan was very unhappy with Hu Fei. However, Hu Fei's strength was indeed very strong. It was also because of this that Hu Fei was specially allowed to stay in this school. However, whenever Ling Yan saw Hu Fei, she would never look at him with a good expression. Ling Yan, you're a class teacher now. You should watch your words. Otherwise, how can you be a teacher? Hu Fei glanced at Ling Yan indifferently. Then, his gaze very subtly landed on some of Ling Yan's key parts. Hu Fei was also very interested in such a hot-tempered little horse. He wanted to ride it and feel what it was like to ride it. When facing a girl with such a strong personality, he naturally couldn't use normal methods to deal with her. He had to use a special method. He had to purposely sing a different tune and make the other party hate him. Then, he would find an opportunity to make the other party change her view of him. These methods of chasing girls were too easy for Hu Fei. Whether I'm a teacher or not, it's none of your business. You should take care of yourself first. Ling Yan rolled her eyes at the latter. However, Hu Fei smiled faintly. What? You want to compete? How about this? How about you and I make a bet? Hu Fei looked at Ling Yan. There was a trace of a scheming smile on his face. However, in Ling Yan's eyes, this smile was mocking her. Thinking of this, Ling Yan clenched her teeth in anger. What bet? Do you think I'm afraid of you? After being provoked like this, Ling Yan's temper immediately flared up. Since you and I are class teachers, then let's see who can get first place in our respective classes. Hu Fei waved his hand, seeming to be very casual. Not to mention that the strength of the second years was stronger than the first years. Just the number of people was unfair. The second years had a total of 4 people, while the first years only had 2 people. How could they be their opponents? With such a big chance of losing, as long as it was the winner, they would be able to see it. Of course, I won't rely on the advantage of numbers. If your class can reach half of the total number of our classes, then it'll be considered your win. Hearing this, it seemed to be very fair. But in reality, it was still unfair. Sometimes, 1 plus 1 didn't equal 2. There were some places that one person couldn't pass through. There were some meta beasts that one person couldn't defeat. However, when there were 2 or even 3 people, then there was a chance. Therefore, the nature of the situation was completely different. However, Ling Yan also said very heroically when he heard this. Alright, let's do it this way. Who's afraid of who's a grandson? Then tell me, what's the bet? Hearing Ling Yan's words, Hu Fei also knew that his plan had succeeded. A little guy like you still dared to play so many tricks with me. If we lose, the other class will take on the basic tasks for a month. How about it? Okay. Chapter 360. The basic tasks here were assigned to every class. It was also a way to supervise the students' alchemy. In addition, there were many social responsibilities, such as cleaning the library. After all, the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor was a dynasty-level institution. If the students who went out were very rude and had no sense of responsibility, it would have a great impact on the reputation of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Therefore, no matter how talented a student was, they had to spend time doing these trivial things. However, there was only one exception, and that was the students who had passed the Genius Tower. Those who could solve the difficult problems of the Genius Tower were the elites of the elites. They were included in the ranks of the important training of this institution. After all, the difficult problems of the Genius Tower needed to be solved continuously. Obviously, these second-year students of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor didn't have such ability, so they had to have some basic tasks. This wasn't a big punishment, nor was it a serious consequence. Everyone could afford to lose, but this was a matter of face. How could Ling Yan lose all his face in front of that dog shit? Therefore, he had to trample on the other party. Hu Fei was pleased with himself. Li Zongjiu had returned so early. It was obvious that he couldn't stand the temperature of the White Blaze Mountain, so he fled back. It was just a little loss of face. It wasn't a big deal. Ling Yan wanted to ask Li Zongjiu how his collection was going, but when he turned around, he found that Li Zongjiu was long gone. He didn't listen to their bet at all. Instead, he walked to a quiet place alone and entered a state of cultivation. Li Zongjiu wanted to be ready as soon as possible, because he would soon embark on the path of saint cultivation. It would open the door to another world. Having seen what the peak was, Li Zongjiu would have a higher goal. In fact, this kind of peak wasn't really the peak. There were more profound and mysterious existences. Hell Prajna technique. Together with the Black Bat sword. Li Zongjiu had to study it carefully. Otherwise, he wouldn't have any chance to break through. He would still be walking the same old path. This damned guy, is he a cultivation maniac? Ling Yan saw Li Zongjiu who was in a state of cultivation. It was a little strange. Even when they were on the sky-shaking ship, they saw Li Zongjiu cultivating. Now that he was cultivating here, would he die if he didn't cultivate? Ling Yan, who originally wanted to ask about it, also dispelled such a thought. When the time was up, he would bring all of them back to the academy and then judge them in the academy. Do the statistics. That was because the academy had equipment that specialized in inspecting these medicinal herbs and scoring them. It was absolutely fair and there wouldn't be any other problems. This kid might not be reliable. Ling Yan thought. But fortunately, that Kuan Erisher from Kuan Castle shouldn't disappoint me. This kid has a huge responsibility in this, he. Just when Ling Yan placed all his hopes on Kuan Erisher, he suddenly heard a voice from behind him. Hello, teacher. Kuan Erisher said very politely and his voice wasn't soft. After Ling Yan heard it, he was stunned. He turned around and saw Kuan Erisher appear in front of him. His eyes were like copper bells as he stared at Kuan Erisher in front of him. You. Why did you come back? There's still half a day's time, who asked you to come back? Half a day isn't time. Ling Yan couldn't wait to strangle Kuan Erisher to death. I've collected almost all of them. It shouldn't be a problem to get first place. Kuan Erisher was a little confused. Why was Ling Yan so angry and looked like he was going to eat someone? However, his performance was not bad. You and that damned Li Zongjiu, you two are going to piss me off. After Ling Yan finished speaking, he directly turned around and left. He was too lazy to talk nonsense with these people. Wait for death, just wait for losing. 2. Li Zongjiu also came back. So fast. Kuan Erisher scratched his head. He understood the meaning of these words. This time, he was able to come back so fast because he had other gains. In addition, there weren't any good herbs on this Baiji mountain. He had already gone to the dangerous places. If he wanted to go to other places, he wouldn't even have enough time to go back and forth. Therefore, Kuan Erisher also came back directly. However, what Kuan Erisher didn't expect was that Li Zongjiu also came back so fast. Why don't we forget about the bet just now and do it again next time when it's fairer? When Hu Fei saw this scene, he immediately laughed. Now that these two students came back directly, there was definitely no chance to win. With just these two guys, it was impossible for them to get first place. Otherwise, the people from other classes would easily surpass them. Facing this almost non-challenging bet, Hu Fei also thought that he was taking too much advantage. Otherwise, it would be better to just forget about it. However, Ling Yan wouldn't back down so easily. He immediately said no. Don't be happy too early. The situation is not certain yet. Teacher, get out of here. Ling Yan couldn't wait to kick Kuan Erisher away. This shameful thing. Kuan Erisher wanted to say something but stopped. However, he saw that Ling Yan didn't seem to be very happy, so he directly walked away. Seeing that Li Zongjiu was cultivating, he didn't go forward to disturb him. However, Kuan Erisher, who wanted to take a rest, also chose to continue cultivating. After all, Li Zongjiu, who was ranked first in the freshman list, was cultivating day and night. How could he be lazy? It wouldn't be easy to surpass Li Zongjiu. It's been a long time since I met such a strong opponent. Compared to other geniuses, Kuan Erisher wasn't afraid of these people. After all, these people's talents, in Kuan Arashi's opinion, were not unsurpassable. However, in front of Li Zongjiu, Kuan Erisher had a feeling of looking up at a high mountain. No matter how hard he tried, it would be difficult to surpass Li Zongjiu. However, the harder it was to reach the peak, the more Kuan Erisher was interested. I will definitely surpass you. The sky gradually brightened. Some people also gradually returned to the camp. When Shui Yu came back, she saw that Li Zongjiu had been waiting in the camp for a long time. She immediately became angry. In these 3 days, it could be said that she specially came to find Li Zongjiu. However, except for a glance at the beginning, she didn't know where Li Zongjiu was hiding. She didn't expect that he would escape first. When Murong Jian and the others came back and saw that Li Zongjiu was safe and sound, they were even more furious. They didn't even know when Li Zongjiu came back. Didn't I tell you to keep an eye on him? Murong Jian angrily reprimanded the people behind him. The people behind him also lowered their heads in shame. However, there was no other way. The incandescent mountain was so big. If you wanted to seal it, it would be sealed. They only had so many people. It was already very good that they could hold on until now. Murong Jian originally wanted to cripple Li Zongjiu on the mountain and teach him a good lesson. However, in these 3 days, they didn't even see Li Zongjiu's hair. This made Murong Jian's stomach full of anger, but he didn't have a place to vent it. This time, he's lucky. Murong Jian deeply remembered Li Zongjiu's disdain and provocation towards him that day. Many teachers gathered together and counted the number of people. When they saw that their students were able to return safely, they were very satisfied and kept nodding their heads. If they couldn't even pass through the incandescent mountain, then there was no need for them to live. If they didn't have the qualifications to become a student of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor, then they would be directly eliminated. When most of the people had arrived, the 4 heavenly kings of the Heavenly STEM department that received a lot of attention still hadn't appeared. The 4 heavenly kings were considered the 4 most outstanding in the previous batch. The fact that the 4 of them could enter the Heavenly STEM department at the same time was enough to prove their talent and strength. However, they still hadn't appeared, which made people curious. Not to mention that Qin Huatian is the #1 expert of the Heavenly STEM department, Zhao Qingfeng and the others are also quite strong. In the second year, they can definitely be ranked in the top 10. Even if you include those crouching tigers and hidden dragons, it's still not bad. However, they still haven't appeared. What's going on? Could it be that these people want to forcefully take first place? It's really possible. If the 4 of them joined hands, then who knows how terrifying it would be. We have to pay attention to them. Those who paid more attention to these people were the second years. Even Gong Jiu himself found it strange. However, when he saw that Li Zongjiu had returned safely, he relaxed. He's here. Qin Huatian is back. In the distance, a figure was slowly approaching. It wasn't time yet. Hu Fei smiled when he saw Qin Huatian's return. Among the 4 students, Qin Huatian's talent was undoubtedly the strongest. So much so that his current achievements were also the highest. Therefore, when he saw Qin Huatian, he was naturally in a good mood. In Hu Fei's view, Qin Huatian alone was enough to defeat Li Zongjiu and the others. Teacher, that's Class A's first year Kuan Erisher. Get the hell out here. Qin Huatian first bowed towards Hu Fei, then roared towards the camp. Chapter 361. They didn't understand why Qin Huatian was looking for Kun Erisher as if he was looking for his father's murderer. Could it be that something unknown had happened on Baiji Mountain? Wasn't this Kun Arashi's taste a little too heavy? Looking at Qin Huatian's angry face, everyone felt that something was wrong. The crowd automatically separated and everyone stood to the side. And at the end of the crowd was Kun Erisher. At this moment, Kun Erisher was eating a popsicle with a dumbfounded expression on his face. Li Zongjiu, who was beside Kun Erisher, also walked to the side indifferently. It was as if he was just watching a show and wasn't very familiar with Kun Erisher. What's wrong? Hu Fei subconsciously furrowed his brows. With Qin Huatian's strength and status, there was no reason for him to lose his composure in front of so many people. Could it be that Qin Huatian had really done something terrible to him? This person schemed in Balian Mountain, attacked me, and stole all my medicinal ingredients. Qin Huatian pointed at Kun Erisher and said with gritted teeth. It was simply a disgrace. As a second year, he was actually bullied by a first year. If this spread out, wouldn't he become a joke? But it was true. Kun Erisher had set a trap in advance and waited for him to rush in. Then, he took the opportunity to steal all his medicinal ingredients. Not only that, he even beat him up. Although this matter was very embarrassing, if he didn't say it out loud, he would lose even more face. Now, he thought that he still had a chance to get the medicinal ingredients back and make Kun Erisher pay the price. Not only did Qin Huatian steal all his medicinal ingredients, he even tied him to a tree and sealed his yuan qi. He only recovered just now. If it had been a little later, he would have probably died from the heat. Therefore, after escaping, he immediately rushed towards Kun Erisher. He wanted to beat up Kun Erisher until half of his body was paralyzed. Of course, Qin Huatian didn't mention that he was tied to a tree. If others found out, it wouldn't be as simple as losing face. They would probably never be able to raise their heads again. It was that serious. What a madman. He actually dares to use underhanded methods against his fellow disciples. Hu Fei instantly realized that something was wrong. Since the other party had snatched the medicinal herbs, they had to act swiftly and decisively. They had to force the other party to hand over the medicinal herbs. First, they had to stand on the high ground and make that Kun Erisher be spurned. They had to ruthlessly humiliate this Kun Erisher and completely destroy the morale of their class. I didn't expect you to be such a person. Li Zongjiu pointed at Kun Erisher, as if he was extremely dissatisfied with Kun Arashi's actions. The surrounding students were also pointing at them. That's right. How shameless. If you have the guts to rob your fellow disciples, why don't you go and fight with the meta beasts? This person is too evil. I used to think that he was quite handsome, but now it seems that he's worse than a beast. A young girl hurriedly said. She even covered her face as she spoke. She felt that her eyes were blinded when she looked at Kun Erisher. You, hurry up and hand over the medicinal herbs. You're just a new student, yet you dare to do such a despicable thing. My heavenly star medicine manor doesn't recruit people with bad character. Hand over the medicinal herbs and get lost. Hu Fei said arrogantly. It was as if this sentence had decided Kun Arashi's fate. He directly expelled Kun Erisher from the academy. As for Kun Erisher, he looked as if nothing had happened. He stood at the same spot and ate the ice stick in his hand. This place was so hot, no one knew where Kun Erisher got the ice stick from. Hee, Teacher Hu, you're really impressive. You want to expel a student from my class with just a few words. Why don't you say a few more words and expel me as well? While everyone was criticizing Hu Fei, Ling Yan also used a strange tone and slowly walked out from the crowd. When she walked past Kun Erisher, she even gave Kun Erisher a thumbs up. This kid really surprised her. She gave Kun Erasure a reassuring look. If she couldn't settle this matter, she, Ling Yan, wouldn't be able to be a class teacher. Ling Yan, you're protecting a future dynasty's cancer. He hasn't even entered the academy for 3 days, yet he has already done such a despicable thing. How can my heavenly star medicine manner let him live? When Hu Fei saw Ling Yan come out, he already had a bad premonition in his heart. How is he a dynasty's cancer? Teacher Hu, why don't you say something? If you can't say anything, then you're bullying my first year. Ling Yan coldly said. She thought that they would lose this time, but before they lost the competition, there was actually such a turn of events. Kun Erasure snatched Qin Huatian, which simply gave her a lot of face. First year facing second year, and even won, of course, this was very satisfying. Moreover, he snatched a person, which was equivalent to 3 against 3. Perhaps there was still a chance for victory. The trial of Incandescent Mountain originally didn't have any rules. If Kun Erasure fought with a group of 10 against 1, then I'll naturally teach him a lesson. But you also heard it just now, they were fighting 1 against 1. You're not as good as him, so you're blaming us. This trial didn't say that we can't compete with each other. Ling Yan waved her hand and said. This was indeed the case. This competition between fellow disciples was also considered a part of the trial. However, during normal times, everyone knew each other. They would at least give face and greet each other when they met. Of course, there were also those who really fought, but if they lost, they wouldn't say anything. However, it was different this time. A mere first year had actually beaten a second year to the ground. Moreover, this Qin Huatian was publicly recognized as the strongest among the second years. His combat strength was at least in the top 3. How could such strength come out of nowhere? However, Qin Huatian was snatched away by someone else. This couldn't be justified. Even Qin Huatian himself couldn't pass the test in his heart. Therefore, when he rushed down the mountain, he wanted to find Kun Erasure and fight with his life. He must teach Kun Erasure a lesson. He always believed that the reason why he fell in the hands of Kun Erasure was because of his carelessness. Otherwise, he would have been able to eliminate Kun Erasure in front of him in minutes. This is clearly twisting words and forcing logic. Does not have a rule, so it is allowed. Could it be that there is no rule that states that we can't kill each other, so it is allowed to kill each other? Hu Fei's mouth was also very powerful. He even directly twisted this point. Hearing these words, Ling Yan was so angry that he was about to attack. Who was twisting words and forcing logic? It was obviously this Hu Fei. However, Ling Yan didn't have time to make a move. There was another commotion behind him. That brat is there. Go. Li Zhongjiu, get out here for me. Get out of the way, Li Zhongjiu, get out here for me. Li Zhongjiu. When Ling Yan and the others heard the roar, they subconsciously looked at Li Zhongjiu. Some of them were extremely curious. Li Zhongjiu was a famous figure. He was ranked first in the freshman list and even attracted the heavenly pool spiritual Jiao. Just these 2 points alone were enough to attract the attention of many people. What did this brat do again? Ling Yan couldn't help but mutter in his heart. He saw Zhao Qingfeng and the other 2 walking in from outside. When Zhao Qingfeng saw Hu Fei and the others, he suppressed his anger and bowed. Teacher, no matter what, you have to make a decision for us today. That Li Zhongjiu stole our storage rings. Stole their storage rings. When Kun Erasure heard these words, he immediately looked at Li Zhongjiu in shock. He couldn't help but give Li Zhongjiu a thumbs up. This was too fierce. He only dared to snatch some herbs and returned the rest to Qin Huatian. However, Li Zhongjiu was awesome. He directly took away the storage ring of the other party. Most of the time, these storage rings contained all of their belongings. What? Even Ling Yan's eyes widened. These 2 brats, one more ruthless than the other, one more capable of causing trouble than the other. They directly snatched the storage rings. This was too ruthless. He stole your storage rings. Hu Fei looked at Zhao Qingfeng. There were still injuries on his face that hadn't completely healed. He stole 3 of my storage rings. Not 1, but 3. The entire audience was in an uproar. Whether it was the second years or the first years, they all had a whole new level of respect for this person called Li Zongjiu. This heavenly STEM department's A class. This year's first years were already fierce to such an extent. You actually stole 3 of them. Kuan Erisher looked at Li Zongjiu. Not only Kuan Erisher, even Ling Yan's eyes were about to pop out. However, when he turned around, his face was filled with uncontrollable ecstasy. Just Li Zongjiu alone was able to steal 3 of their people. This was too cool. Just now, Ling Yan was still worried about whether or not he would lose. However, in the blink of an eye, he already knew that he would definitely win this bet. The other party wouldn't even have the chance to turn things around. The students were discussing animatedly. In the crowd, there was a pair of big black eyes. At the beginning, they didn't dare to believe it. Then, they were shocked. Then, they clenched their teeth. Emotions constantly changed in their eyes. However, in the end, they were deeply shocked. So he's Li Zongjiu. No wonder, Shueiyue looked at Li Zongjiu's figure and suddenly understood. Chapter 362. When Zhao Qingfeng said that, Hu Fei thought that he didn't hear it clearly. What did you say? Hu Fei couldn't help but ask again. Zhao Qingfeng also understood that with so many people present, if he directly said that the 3 of them were beaten up by Li Zongjiu, wouldn't it be too embarrassing? But if he said that the 3 of them were beaten up by a woman, wouldn't that be even more embarrassing? Therefore, it was better to directly blame Li Zongjiu. Moreover, they had 3 mouths, and that Li Zongjiu only had 1 mouth, which was nothing at all. As long as they insisted, that Li Zongjiu couldn't do anything to them. This Li Zongjiu is despicable and shameless. He set up a trap in a cave and made the 3 of us fall for it. While we were unconscious, he took away our storage rings. He is no different from those despicable robbers. Zhao Qingfeng pointed at Li Zongjiu and roared. He said that he was a weak person who was bullied, and even fell for Li Zongjiu's trick, which was why road ended up like this. But in the eyes of the crowd, "Teacher, you have to make a decision for us," Zhao Qingfeng said to Hu Fei. When such a thing happened, Hu Fei was also confused. There were 3 of them, and Li Zongjiu was only 1 person. No matter how he looked at it, this didn't seem right. Could it be that this Li Zongjiu was actually this powerful? Moreover, because of the issue of whether or not they could snatch it, they had already argued with Ling Yan before, and they didn't get any good results. Therefore, even if Zhao Qingfeng asked, it would be difficult for Hu Fei to get the things back. Ling Yan, you heard it too. Ask Li Zongjiu to hand over the things. If it was according to what you said, then it would be fine to just snatch some medicinal herbs, but now that Li Zongjiu directly took away their storage rings, this is clearly the act of a robber. If this is reported to the imperial court, he will go to jail. Hu Fei directly mentioned the imperial court. Indeed, robbery was a relatively serious crime. As long as it was a crime, it would be very serious. Especially at the foot of the imperial city, it would not be tolerated. Ling Yan also frowned. Snatching the storage ring was indeed a wrong move. Immediately, Ling Yan arrived in front of Li Zongjiu. You stole their storage rings? Ling Yan asked. Li Zongjiu blinked. No. He denied it flatly. He refused to admit it at all. Upon hearing Li Zongjiu's straightforward denial, Kuan Erisher felt like prostrating himself in admiration of Li Zongjiu's acting skills. It was too ferocious. He was too shameless. Anyone could see that the anger on those people's faces was not real. After all, who would joke about such a thing? But as long as Li Zongjiu denied it, and the other party could not produce any evidence, what could they do? This time, it was Ling Yan's turn to be blindsided. He never thought that Li Zongjiu would be so daring. He was clearly trying to deny it. If Li Zongjiu continued to deny it, then they could not do anything to him. You're shameless. A real man dares to admit his actions. You actually have the face to deny it. I've never seen such a shameless person. At this moment, Qin Huatian had already retreated to the side. Looking at the situation, he would not be able to get back his medicinal herbs. If he could not get it back, then so be it. In comparison, he could be considered lucky. After all, his storage ring was still there. That Kuan Erasure was a bit righteous. Zhao Qinfeng and the others were miserable. They met a merciless Li Zongjiu. They could only swallow this loss. I never thought that this Li Zongjiu's conduct would be so improper. Mo Suli said faintly. It's hard to say, but his strength is indeed very strong. To be able to take advantage of the three of them, he's definitely not an ordinary person. Mu Qingyun said in a deep voice. Originally, Mu Qingyun did not put Li Zongjiu in his eyes. Or rather, he did not treat him as an enemy. He was just a new freshman's top disciple. It could not prove anything. Every year, there would be a new top disciple. Could it be that he would treat them all as enemies? But in this matter, from the way Li Zongjiu handled it, it was clear that he had full confidence. Otherwise, Li Zongjiu would be a fool. So what if he's strong? Improper conduct is still disdainful. Mo Suli seemed to be unhappy with Li Zongjiu. Mu Qingyun glanced at Mo Suli. Who was the one with improper conduct? This was still uncertain. Was snatching the storage ring considered bad behavior? Wasn't that a little too arbitrary? Before knowing the truth, it was best not to make any wild guesses. Li Zongjiu, you're a freshman. Perhaps you don't know the rules of our Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Our Heavenly Star Medicine Manor is the #1 institution in the Shengyan dynasty. Other than cultivating the art of alchemy, we also pay great attention to the conduct of our students. Hu Fei walked towards Li Zongjiu. Moreover, as he walked, the aura on his body continued to rise. It was as if there was a force gathering and was about to land on Li Zongjiu's body. It gave Li Zongjiu a great pressure. Today, if you hand over the item and admit your mistake and repent, I can forgive you. But if the evidence is irrefutable and you can't deny it, then no matter how high your cultivation talent is, I will kick you out of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor. Hu Fei said in a loud voice. At the last moment, Hu Fei's aura had reached its peak. He was only 5 steps away from Li Zongjiu. However, at this distance, Hu Fei seemed to have become a 7 feet tall giant. One had to raise their head to see Hu Fei's aura. Oh! Kick me out of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. On what basis? Li Zongjiu didn't care about the matter of snatching the item. However, when he heard that the young man in front of him dared to pressure him and even used his mental strength to increase his aura and pressure Li Zongjiu, it was a provocation. On what basis? On the basis that I'm a 5th-grade alchemist. Being provoked by a student, with Hu Fei's temper, how could he let you get away unscathed? When Hu Fei's aura erupted, he had already decided to kick Li Zongjiu out of the school. Hu Fei, what do you mean? Seeing Hu Fei using his power to bully others, Ling Yan naturally wouldn't agree. Moreover, this was their own problem. If they wanted to fight, then she, Ling Yan, wasn't afraid at all. You're a 5th-grade alchemist. Could it be that you're the only 5th-grade alchemist in the entire school? Ling Yan's aura also erupted. However, the confrontation between the two had yet to begin. Then, he heard Li Zongjiu's unhurried words. Oh! A fifth-grade alchemist is very powerful. He actually dared to mock a fifth-grade alchemist. Li Zongjiu's actions completely shocked everyone present. This was a living example of knowing that there was a tiger in the mountain, but still going to the tiger's mountain. Could it be that Li Zongjiu's family owned a yuan stone mine? He dared to speak to a teacher of the school like this and didn't even put the other party's threat in his eyes. Koen Arashi's eyes widened. He originally thought that Li Zongjiu was only a little stronger than him. As long as he worked hard, he would be able to catch up with him. However, after hearing Li Zongjiu's words, Koen Arashi knew that the gap between him and Li Zongjiu wasn't just a little or two. They weren't even on the same level. Li Zongjiu, don't speak first. Ling Yan frowned. Respecting one's teacher was a basic principle. If Li Zongjiu directly contradicted Hu Fei, it would definitely be against the rules. It would also leave a topic for gossip. Perhaps when he returned, he would be given a big demerit. At that time, wouldn't it affect Li Zongjiu's future? Little did they know that Li Zongjiu didn't care about the future at all. It was all empty. Whoever jumped in front of him, he would break their legs. What royal power and wealth! Li Zongjiu didn't care at all. If you gave him face, even if you were a student, Li Zongjiu would respect you and give you face. However, if you thought that with a little status and strength, you could step on Li Zongjiu, then just wait to be killed by Li Zongjiu. Even if you were a dean or a master, Li Zongjiu would kill you in minutes. Therefore, if this Hu Fei liked to show off his ability, Li Zongjiu didn't care. However, if you ran in front of Li Zongjiu and ran amok, then Li Zongjiu wouldn't be polite. Ling Yan also didn't expect Li Zongjiu's temper to be so fierce. He wanted to calm down for the time being. There were so many people here. It wouldn't be good to have a public conflict. Instructor Ling Yan, you don't have to protect this person. Li Zongjiu, since you want to know the power of a fifth-grade alchemist, fine. I'll have a battle with you. The loser will get out of Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Do you dare? Hu Fei had already made up his mind to start with Li Zongjiu. He wasn't a good person. Since he dared to provoke him, then he should be prepared to be beaten up and killed. Li Zongjiu, you're not allowed to accept the battle. Ling Yan said and then looked at Hu Fei. Hu Fei, if you want to have a battle, I'll fight with you. Before the situation continued to change, Li Zongjiu's voice sounded again. But this time, everyone present could feel how difficult and terrifying Li Zongjiu was. It was impossible to make an enemy out of such a person. Get out of Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Hee, whoever loses will die. Chapter 363. This Li Zongjiu is crazy. Is this guy stupid? He actually dared to compete with instructor Hu Fei. He is seeking his own death. This Li Zongjiu is dead. Idiot. Everyone looked at Li Zongjiu with a face full of sympathy. Such a good future was about to be destroyed because of impulsiveness. Impulsiveness was the devil. Boss, calm down. Koen Arashi patted Li Zongjiu's shoulder. This kind of bet was too serious. It was just a small matter, but now it turned out like this. It was really not worth it. Almost everyone was not optimistic about Li Zongjiu. Obviously, this Li Zongjiu's only end was death. Originally, he only wanted to leave Heavenly Star Medicine Mansion, but now he dared to directly gamble with his life. Could it be that Li Zongjiu really did not rob? So now he wants to use his death to prove his innocence. Even Ling Yan almost believed that Li Zongjiu was innocent. But in Ling Yan's view, this Li Zongjiu was too ambitious. Fine. Since you want to die, then I will agree to your request. Hu Fei was so angry that he laughed. A mere freshman actually dared to shout at him, and actually dared to offend him like this. Looking down on a fifth-grade alchemist. Then I will let you know what an alchemist is. It was simply ridiculous. As for Li Zongjiu winning, he never thought about this kind of thing. If Li Zongjiu really won, then there was no need for him to live in this world. Hu Fei, that's enough. Ling Yan reacted and immediately said to Hu Fei. Li Zongjiu was impulsive. Could it be that Hu Fei was also immature? We are all adults, we have to be responsible for our own words. If I lose, I will not say anything and kill myself on the spot. I will not blame anyone. Hu Fei stood with his hands behind his back and said indifferently. However, was it possible for him to lose? The eyes of Zhao Qingfeng and the rest were also filled with excitement. In comparison, it didn't matter whether he had the storage ring or not. Anyway, Li Zongjiu was going to die. They were delighted. Not only did they want Li Zong to die, but they also wanted that woman to die. After waking up in the cave, the three of them thought about it for a while. They discovered that the girl wasn't a student of their Heavenly Star Medicine manner. The moves she used were very similar to those of the army. She should be a member of the Vermilion Bird Army. However, she was a woman after all, so they pretended not to know about it. After that, he would find an opportunity to take revenge himself. However, when Zhao Qingfeng recalled that Li Zongjiu had stepped on his face, he absolutely could not let this Li Zongjiu go. He had to kill him. Now, the opportunity had finally arrived. Such a good ending was what they wanted to see. Ahem, both of you should be quiet. Don't tell me you want to fight in front of the students. Just as Ling Yan was about to attack. The leader of this group, Director Shang Deqing, also walked out. Originally, I don't have the authority to interfere in the matters of your Heavenly Star Medicine manner. However, this alchemy battle challenge happened during the course of the event that I led. More or less, I have some responsibility. Shang Deqing slowly said as he looked at Li Zongjiu. The alchemy battle between the two of you doesn't violate the rules of the academy. However, the stakes are a bit too much. How about this, change the stakes. Li Zongjiu, if you lose, you will automatically leave the Heavenly Star Medicine manor. Hu Fei, if you lose, you will be stripped of your identity as a teacher. At the same time, you will never be able to take a step into the Heavenly Star Medicine manor. How about it? It sounded fair, and didn't seem like an impulsive decision. Both sides had suffered losses. Moreover, the one who suffered more was Hu Fei. Not only was his identity stripped, but he also had to leave the Heavenly Star Medicine manor. Such a punishment was extremely severe for the academy. Director Shang is fair. Hu Fei clasped his hands. Shang Deqing's seniority was higher than his. Since Shang Deqing stood out to speak, he naturally had to listen. Otherwise, he would be disrespecting his teacher. What about you? All right, I will take his life myself. Li Zongjiu nodded. You can say whatever you want, but I'm definitely going to take your life. Shang Deqing frowned. It was obvious that Li Zongjiu had the intention to kill Hu Fei. However, in Shang Deqing's opinion, it wouldn't be easy for Li Zongjiu to win. Therefore, this matter wasn't valid. How about we set the time of your battle to be 1 month later? Shang Deqing said. I will listen to Director Shang's arrangement. Let him enjoy it for 1 more month. Hu Fei sneered. Li Zongjiu humiliated him in public. If he, Hu Fei, allowed Li Zongjiu to leave Monarch City safely, wouldn't he lose face? Therefore, even if he lost, he, Hu Fei, would personally end Li Zongjiu's life. Of course, he wouldn't do it in front of everyone. He would make Li Zongjiu disappear without a trace. Hu Fei had mastered such a skill quite well. No, 1 month is too late. I don't have that much time to wait for you. Let's do it tomorrow. Just when everyone thought that the dust had settled, Li Zongjiu shook his head and raised a finger. Why would he wait so long to start a feud? Moreover, it wasn't as if he couldn't kill him. What a joke. Therefore, Li Zongjiu directly said that they would have an alchemy battle tomorrow. At this moment, even Hu Fei's eyes widened. It was as if in Li Zongjiu's eyes, he, Hu Fei, was just a fly that could be swatted to death. Why? How dare he be so arrogant? Ling Yan thought that Li Zongjiu didn't want to live anymore. However, Ling Yan realized that Li Zongjiu didn't seem to be impatient at all. It was as if Li Zongjiu didn't care about all of this. Such a challenge was nothing in front of Li Zongjiu. You actually dare to accept Hu Fei's challenge. Kid, you have guts. When Murong Jian saw Li Zongjiu being so unruly, he couldn't help but admire Li Zongjiu. Facing such an expert, Li Zongjiu had already far surpassed Murong Jian in terms of level. Even if it was Murong Jian, in front of Hu Fei, he could only behave properly. Although it was only a grade higher, the difference between them was like the difference between the clouds and the earth. With Murong Jian's current strength, it would take him at least 5 to 10 years to reach Hu Fei's level. This was still considered fast. How many people were stuck at the threshold of the 5th grade alchemist? It was almost uncountable. Back then, Li Zongjiu directly challenged Li Zongjiu. It could even be said that Li Zongjiu ignored him. In comparison, this Li Zongjiu must have held back some of his strength. However, it was still hard for Murong Jian to believe that Li Zongjiu could compete with a grade 5 alchemist like Hu Fei. Although it's stupid, he's still a man. No one knew how this matter would end. Perhaps the academy would step in to stop it. After all, this wasn't a small matter. A newly enrolled student actually challenged an instructor of the academy. Most importantly, the instructor was the one who initiated the challenge. This was even more puzzling. How much hatred was there between the two of them? Very good. When I return, I will report this to the academy. It has been a long time since someone like you, who doesn't respect his teacher, appeared. Since you are so confident in your strength, then I will show you the difference between us. After Hu Fei finished speaking, he left with Zhao Qingfeng and the others. The Sky Shaker ship had already arrived, so he took the lead and boarded it. Shang Deqing and Ling Yan looked at each other. The matter of the Heavenly Gone Court was not something that the Earth Branch Court could interfere with. Even if Shang Deqing interfered, there wouldn't be any results. After all, Hu Fei was also a genius. In the academy, his future position would definitely be higher than Shang Deqing's. He had such potential at such a young age. In addition, Hu Fei's background was not simple. Therefore, no one was willing to offend Hu Fei for Li Zongjiu. Only Ling Yan stood on Li Zongjiu's side. However, Li Zongjiu's temper was too stubborn. Therefore, even if Ling Yan spoke, it would be useless. After all, Li Zongjiu did not cooperate. You, where did your confidence come from? What level is your alchemy level? Ling Yan looked at Li Zongjiu's indifferent expression. Hu Fei is a 5th grade alchemist. His success rate is 17%. This is the result of the Heavenly Dan Pavilion. It's not that easy to win. Even if it's me, I might not be able to win against him. You are too impulsive. How about this, I will go back and talk to the dean and let him do some work. This time, we have lost. You are still young and have a chance. 10 years is not too late for a gentleman to take revenge. 10 years later, you can find him for revenge. Ling Yan said. Right now, he was trying his best to think of a way to save Li Zongjiu's life. Although the two of them had not known each other for a long time and were not very familiar with each other, Ling Yan regarded Kun Erisher and Li Zongjiu as his own people. Therefore, no matter what happened, he would not give up on the two of them. You can rest assured that he is not my opponent. However, I need a few herbs. Do you have the great desolate grass here? Chapter 364. Great desolate grass. Hearing Li Zongjiu's words, Ling Yan was obviously a little surprised. You want to use great desolate grass? I have a lot here. Kuan Erishur said, and then took out a bunch of great desolate grass from his storage ring. There was a desolate garden where Kuan city was located. Hence, there was quite a lot of great desolate grass. Li Zongzhou's eyes lit up when he saw the great desolate grass, and he quickly received it. Lend it to me first. With this great desolate grass, it won't be a problem. After this breakthrough, Li Zongzhou planned to start refining pills. He wanted to refine the great overarching heavenly pulse pill. With this, he could open up his 8 extraordinary meridians and increase his strength quickly. After that, he could enter the genius tower to solve difficult problems. At least within half a year, he had to obtain the secret technique of the universe 9 revolutions formation. When Li Zongzhou started to come into contact with the genius tower, a thought floated in Li Zongzhou's mind. Who created the genius tower? Li Zongzhou, how can you be so impulsive? Gong Jiu suddenly rushed in front of Li Zongzhou and said. Ling Yan and Lan Kuan looked at Gong Jiu and Li Zongzhou. After which, they looked at Li Zongzhou. After which, the two of them looked at each other and smiled. They patted Li Zongzhou's large shoulders before walking to the side. Come on, young man. Kuan Erishur said in a low voice, then walked away with a smile. Li Zongzhou certainly knew what the two meant, but Li Zongzhou didn't have that kind of feeling towards Gong Jiu. What's wrong? It could be seen that Gong Jiu's eyes were full of concern. Li Zongzhou was just a little cold, but he wasn't a fool. That Hu Fei is a 5th-grade alchemist, how can you win? Do you have money? Li Zongzhou asked abruptly. Gong Jiu was stunned. What did he mean? Money? However, Gong Jiu also subconsciously touched his money pouch and took out all the money he had. I only have 2 million purple yuan. If you want, I can go back to the city and get an advance of 10 million purple yuan from the bank. How much do you want? Gong Jiu asked. Although he didn't understand why Li Zongzhou wanted money at this time, he knew that Li Zongzhou definitely needed it. Alright, I'll return it to you tomorrow. Li Zongzhou took Gong Jiu's money pouch, then turned around and walked towards the Skyshaker ship. When Li Zongzhou boarded the ship, the surrounding people looked at him with admiration. However, some people thought that Li Zongzhou was an absolute idiot for doing such a stupid thing. Courting death, using such a despicable way to gain attention, it was really something that a poor man would do. Country people like to do this kind of sensationalist thing. Most of the people who disdained Li Zongzhou's behavior were boys, and they were generally the young masters of some city families. In their opinion, Li Zongzhou's behavior was simply stupid. Wasn't he just relying on his mouth? What's so great about it? Who are you calling country people? Just now, a person whispered, but the next second, he saw Li Zongzhou standing in front of him, and suddenly he was a little scared. Looking at Li Zongzhou's calm eyes without the slightest emotion, he couldn't help but feel a little guilty. What does this kid want to do? I don't believe that in front of so many people, you can kill me. What does it have to do with you who I'm talking about? Anyway, I'm not talking about you. That boy also said in a soft voice. That arrogant and disdainful attitude from before had weakened in an instant. He had directly admitted defeat in less than a second. It was really surprising. However, Li Zongzhou's courage, to directly make a person admit defeat with just a few words, this kind of ability, this kind of domineering attitude, was seen by some girls, and their eyes were shining as they looked at Li Zongzhou. He was really too handsome. Even if Li Zongzhou really lost tomorrow, he would still be a hero in their hearts. The Skyshaker ship brought all the students back to Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. On the other side of Incandescent Mountain. Su Mo, who had returned to the camp, seemed to have heard the movement in the sky. He looked up and saw a huge ship rising in the sky. Although he couldn't see it, Su Mo could sense a familiar figure sitting on the ship. Wait for me to go to King's City to drink with you. The corner of Su Mo's mouth raised slightly, and he turned around. Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. As for the final evaluation of the Incandescent Mountains outdoor training, the class that had won first place. It was the first year of the Heavenly Star Department's A class. However, everyone seemed to have expected this news. Originally, it should have been the second year or the A class of the Earth branch. Who would have thought that Li Zongjiu and Lan Kuan, who suddenly appeared, would be so ferocious? They forcibly snatched the herbs from the hands of the four great experts. This led to the final result, which was almost half of the second place. However, to many people, this trial was no longer important. What they paid more attention to was what would happen in the next day's competition. When Hu Fei returned to Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, he directly communicated with the school's management and directly issued a notice. The competition would be held tomorrow morning at Heavenly Star Medicine Manor's Dao Plaza, and all the teachers and students were allowed to watch the competition. When this news was released, it first spread within Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Then, it quickly spread throughout the city. By noon, it had spread to the entire Sacred Flame Royal City. The most excited people were naturally the big and small casinos in the city. Once there was any news, there would naturally be all kinds of gambling. No matter what it was, as long as there was attention, there would definitely be people watching. If there were people watching, there would be people betting. Bo Yu Casino. As a gold medal casino, if they didn't participate in such a lively event, wouldn't it weaken their reputation? When they received this news, they quickly opened their bets. Among the items that could be bet, they were all elixirs of different grades that were refined by both parties. Beginner Grade 4, Intermediate Grade 4, Advanced Grade 4, Peak Grade 4. Beginner Grade 5, Intermediate Grade 5, Advanced Grade 5, Peak Grade 5. For these 8 choices, the odds for both parties were different. Hu Fei refined a Peak Grade 4 with the lowest odds, and the number of people who bet on it was also the most. The odds were a pitiful 1. 3 times. Similarly, the odds for Beginner Grade 4 and Intermediate Grade 5, which were more ridiculous, were also higher. The highest odds were Peak Grade 5, which was 100 times. If Hu Fei refined a Peak Grade 5, he would earn 100 times. The premise was that one had bet enough. Even if one bet 10,000 gold coins, one would have won 1,000,000 gold coins. However, the high odds were one thing. Who would dare to bet casually? As for Li Zongjiu's odds, it was even worse. First of all, the lowest odds were Beginner Grade 4. It was 1.9 times. From this point, it could be seen that Li Zongjiu was not thought highly of. Although he was the top freshman this year, the odds were already very high. As the odds went up, the odds were even more ridiculous. The highest was Peak Grade 5, 1,000 times. An advanced rank 5 was also 800 times more powerful. If he were to refine a rank 5 middle grade, there would be a 500-fold payout. As long as the odds were more than 100 times, it was for you to see. A lot of people didn't understand what the odds were. To explain it simply, the odds of Li Zongjiu refining a Peak Grade 5 Dan was 1,000 times, if you bet 100 gold coins on it. If that's the case, then your 100 gold coins will be wasted. That was the general meaning. Middle grade rank 5 actually has 500 times odds. When Li Zongjiu walked into the Broad Delight Casino, he glanced at the notice board hung by the other party. The contents of the notice board were very clear. Moreover, there were quite a number of people gathered here, looking at the odds. At the same time, their hands were also calculating. No matter how they bet, the most important thing was that they must win. When Li Zongjiu walked into the casino, soon, someone went to inform Taifai. Since the last time Li Zongjiu directly took 10 billion gold coins, he directly became the focus of the casino. If he came again, they must inform Taifai. Li Zongjiu, this kid actually came again. Isn't he preparing for the competition? Could it be that this Li Zongjiu wanted to have a good time before he died? You want to bet 100 million purple coins on Li Zongjiu's intermediate grade 5 pill? When the person in charge of the ticket saw the list, although he was a very well-educated and professional person, he could not help but say, "This was simply too shocking. Could it be true? Could it be wrong?" If it was Hu Fei who refined this level of pill, there was still a possibility. Could it be that he chose wrong? This is 200,000 purple coins, buy it separately. Chapter 365. Suddenly, he received a large order of 100 million purple yuan and 10 billion gold yuan. The ticket seller's hands trembled a little. Even the surrounding people looked at Li Zongjiu and discussed one after another. What was the identity of this Li Zongjiu? He could easily take out 10 billion gold yuan to gamble, and the odds were so outrageous. The odds for a mid-grade 5th grade elixir were 500 times. If Li Zongjiu were to win, he would have won such an outrageous payout. Then, the Broad Joy Casino would compensate Li Zongjiu 50 billion purple yuan. Such an astronomical figure. He was afraid that the Great Joy Casino's quarterly profits would be directly lost. This was a very serious situation. Give him the order. My Broad Joy Casino opened its doors to do business, so there is no reason not to receive customers. Taifai walked out with his people. Along the way, his imposing manner was like a rainbow. It also had a kind of aura that made people who saw it feel like they couldn't open their eyes. As expected of Taifai, the boss of the Broad Joy Casino. This kind of imposing manner was not something an ordinary person could possess. Young hero Li, let me introduce myself. I am the manager of the Broad Joy Casino, Taifai. Taifai stretched out his hand and stared at Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu was not weak at all. After shaking hands with him, Taifai saw that Li Zongjiu was so calm and composed. In his heart, Taifai could not help but think more highly of Li Zongjiu. Sure enough, there was a faint aura of a hidden dragon. You should know me. Here is the money. Li Zongjiu handed over a storage ring. The ring contained 100 million purple yuan, and the other 200,000 purple yuan was stored in another storage ring. Soon, the ticket seller also wrote 2 tickets and handed them to Li Zongjiu. The tickets had the official seal of the Broad Joy Casino, so the outside world could not counterfeit them. Young hero Li, I have to remind you that we only recognize tickets, not people. So, you must take good care of this gambling ticket. Li Zongjiu could not help but smile. What I am more worried about is whether you have enough money in your treasury. 50 billion purple yuan. When he bought the Azura cauldron, which was comparable to a 6th grade origin tool, it only cost 100 million purple yuan. Just 50 billion purple yuan alone could buy a lot of things. Even the wealth of a sect might not be so much. The annual tax revenue of an ordinary 3rd grade city was at most 10 billion purple yuan. 50 billion, this was a huge number. Young hero Li, don't worry. Just go out and ask around about the background of my Joy Casino. Taifai stared at Li Zongjiu and said. This sentence was undoubtedly a threat to Li Zongjiu. However, Li Zongjiu was not afraid at all. Of course, I know your background. That's why I came. Otherwise, I would not have bothered to enter such a place. That's good. Li Zongjiu took his 2 gambling tickets and left the Broad Joy Casino. Taifai's subordinate asked as he watched Li Zongjiu leave. Should we kill him? Are you an idiot? Why would we do that now? If he dares to bet on himself, that means he is very confident. Increase the odds. I want to see how much the prize pool can accumulate. Taifai had already made up his mind. 50 billion purple yuan was enough to attract the attention of a Yuan King level elite. Although Tai Feihe wasn't sure what Li Zongjiu's motive was, Tai Feihe didn't know. However, the news that Li Zongjiu had placed a bet on himself had also spread. Is he staking it all on one throw? What is that kid trying to do? He must have done it on purpose. Perhaps Li Zongjiu is colluding with the Broad Joy Casino to put on a show and trick us into betting. We won't buy it. Yeah, we won't buy it. A group of gamblers gathered together to discuss the implications of this matter. If one were to ask why Li Zongjiu did this, it would be to attract everyone's attention to Li Zongjiu, who could concoct high-grade pills. But was this possible? Even if one were to buy 10 billion or 100 billion, it would still be impossible. I heard that Li Zongjiu placed a bet of 10 billion gold yuan. A few days ago, Li Zongjiu won it with 100 gold yuan. Is there such a thing? Winning 10 billion gold yuan with 100 gold yuan. Will the Broad Joy Casino let him off? That's right. There must be something fishy going on. It seems like they have set this up for today. Let's keep an eye on Hu Fei. I have a brother who cooks in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor's cafeteria. He told me that Hu Fei has a chance to become a grade 5 mid-grade alchemist. If he's that good, then the probability of him refining a grade 5 beginner elixir is very high. Many people started to make calculations based on the various possible scenarios and the changes in the odds. Then, they began to calculate how they would not make a loss. If they won, they would be able to make a fortune. Just as these people were talking loudly and sharing their own information, hoping that the other party would place the same bet as them, another piece of shocking news came. The Broad Joy Casino has increased the odds. If Li Zongjiu can refine a grade 5 mid-grade elixir, the odds will increase to 800 times. Who knew how much money would be lost in an instant? But in fact, no one would buy it at all. No matter how high the odds were, everyone could see it clearly. It was obvious that the two of them were singing a duet. Even if they want to trick us into betting, even if they increase it by 1,000 times, we still won't buy it. That Li Zongjiu's background can be easily found out after a little investigation. He doesn't come from a famous family, nor did he have any opportunities. He's just the young master of a small family in a small city. Such a person, even if you can't find 1 million in the whole dynasty, you can find at least 800,000. How can he have the ability to refine a grade 5 elixir? Those with a little bit of professional knowledge knew that it was impossible to refine a high-grade elixir if one's strength was not enough. There were no accidents in refining elixirs. If you can do it, you can do it. If you can't, you can't. There was a reason for all the success. Of course, if you failed, there was also a reason. It couldn't be faked. Li Zongjiu did not take this matter to heart and continued to practice his white god Fu. But on the other side, Hu Fei was drinking and eating with a few people, and they were also discussing this matter with each other. He's just a small ant. Everyone, watch how I stomp this kid to death tomorrow. Brother Hu Fei, since you're so confident, could it be that you've made a breakthrough in the realm of alchemy? A friend poured wine into Hu Fei's cup and pretended to ask casually. I know what you want to ask. Tomorrow, I'm going to refine the Qingsang spiritual elixir. The lowest grade is a grade 5 elixir, but I have a 70% chance of refining a grade 5 intermediate elixir. Qingsang spiritual elixir, I didn't expect Brother Hu Fei to have reached such a realm. When these people heard Hu Fei's words, they looked at each other. They wanted to know the situation from Hu Fei. Since this was the case, they knew how to place their bets. With such an advantage here, if they didn't use it, they would be a real fool. But I heard that Li Zongjiu bet 100 million purple yuan on himself in the Boyu casino. Right now, his odds have already been raised to 800 times by Boyu casino. Someone said. Him. With my talent and my master's guidance, I've only reached such a level now. Can Li Zongjiu do it? I don't think he's even fully grown. Moreover, that kid hasn't been baptized by Genius Tower and hasn't solved Genius Tower's difficult problem. It's impossible for him to refine a grade 5 elixir. With his level, I estimate that he's at most a grade for intermediate elixir. I see. Li Zongjiu is already in brother Hu Fei's bag. Ha ha ha, cheers. Everyone at the scene was celebrating. Just as Hu Fei and the others were drinking merrily, a series of messy footsteps came from outside the room. Bang! The door of their room was violently kicked open. Damn, who's so arrogant? Don't you have eyes? Don't you know who's drinking here? A playboy who was used to being arrogant slapped his palm and stood up. He held the wine jar in his hand and was about to throw it out. But when he saw a figure walk in from the door, his legs went weak. He almost knelt down in front of the person in front of him. The wine jar in his hand fell to the ground with a clang. Yi! Yi! Young Master Yi, Yi Lone Moon walked in and his indifferent gaze swept across everyone present. Finally, his gaze fell on Hu Fei. You are Hu Fei. Chapter 366. You're Hu Fei. Yi Lone Moon looked at the man in front of him. Although Hu Fei was a little drunk, he was still sober when he saw Yi Lone Moon. The second young master of the Yi clan came in person. Even Hu Fei himself did not expect this. Although it was said that he was working in the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor, in reality, this was also a way to repay the kindness of his sect. Most people would also stay for a year or two. At the same time, it was also a convenient opportunity to make friends with the influential people in the city. When he was in office, it was not good to accept bribes and money. However, when his term ended, there would be opportunities. He could even jump ship. After all, this was a major event in his life. A man's ambition was to travel far and wide. He had to look for opportunities that belonged to him everywhere. Therefore, Hu Fei wanted to stay in King City and look for his own opportunities. Yes, young Master Yi. I'm Hu Fei. Hu Fei said quickly. The Yi clan could be said to be one of the top clans in King City. It was difficult for ordinary people to come into contact with such a majestic power. Although Hu Fei was outstanding, the power of the clan made his position in King City unstable. Your father is the head of the Golden Lake Medicine Manor? Yi Lone Moon asked. The Golden Lake Medicine Manor was famous in some second-class cities. It had made a lot of reputation. However, its reputation was not always good. Most of the time, it sold fake medicine to ordinary people. However, its name was very famous. Before coming, Yi Lone Moon had already found out about Hu Fei's identity. The Golden Lake Medicine Manor was considered a half-medicine manor. It was a half-martial arts sect with more than 1,000 disciples. It had a strong background and was not to be trifled with. The most famous medicine of the Golden Lake Medicine Manor was the Golden Gun Medicine. The so-called Golden Gun Medicine was, as its name implied, difficult to be refined. Therefore, it was extremely difficult to enter Royal City through the channels. Yes, young Master Yi. Hu Fei muttered in his heart. Why would the second young master of the Yi clan come looking for him? Usually, he did not have any interactions with the Yi clan. Even with his level, he was not worthy of the Yi clan's attention. In King City, there were at least 100 grade 5 alchemists. Moreover, Hu Fei was not among the top. Could it be that the second son of the Yi family was here because of Li Zongjiu? Could it be that Li Zongjiu was one of young Master Ye's men? If that was the case, then they would be in big trouble. No wonder Li Zongjiu was so arrogant. It turned out that he had the support of the second son of the Yi family. However, how could such a commoner be able to get along with the second son of the Yi family? Let's not talk about that first. Just today's matter alone would be difficult to get over. Very good. I've heard about your alchemy battle with Li Zongjiu. Yi Lone Moon said lightly. As soon as he heard Yi Lone Moon mention Li Zongjiu's name, Hu Fei secretly cursed in his heart. Something like this must have happened because of Li Zongjiu. Now, he was really done for. Yi. Young Master Yi, please listen to my explanation. Hu Fei wanted to defend himself. At the very least, before this life and death situation, he should admit his mistake first. Otherwise, he would not even know how he died in the end. In the face of a life and death situation, lowering his head and apologizing, the dignity under his knees, was nothing. You don't have to explain. Tomorrow, I want you to kill Li Zongjiu. If you can do it, then I'll recruit you to work in my Lone Moon mansion. Yi Lone Moon said lightly. Hu Fei, who originally thought that he was going to die for sure. When he heard Yi Lone Moon's words, he immediately raised his head in shock. He felt that he was dreaming. He did not expect that he would have the chance to enter Lone Moon Mansion. Such an opportunity was simply a godsend. If Hu Fei did not grab hold of it, he would regret it till his intestines turned green. If you can kill Li Zongjiu, I'll personally open up a path for your Golden Lake Pharmacy. I'll let your Golden Lake Pharmacy establish a firm foothold in this city. With my Yi family's support, you can naturally rest easy. Yi Lone Moon said. Hu Fei did not dare to believe that this damned Li Zongjiu would actually provoke such a strong person like Yi Lone Moon. This was simply seeking his own death. It seemed that this lad was tired of living. Hu Fei had already decided to kill Li Zongjiu. No matter what, he had to take Li Zongjiu's life. Now that he heard Yi Lone Moon's words, he could not ask for anything more. Along the way, he could also obtain such a great future. Young Master Yi, don't worry. That Li Zongjiu will not live past tomorrow. Very well, it's up to you. Yi Lone Moon said lightly and turned to leave. This place was not suitable for Yi Lone Moon to stay for long. However, before he left, Yi Lone Moon also left behind a sentence. If you can't kill Li Zongjiu, your Hu family will pay the price. Yi Lone Moon came quickly and left quickly as well. As for the last sentence, Hu Fei did not take it to heart. How could such a thing happen? How could he not kill Li Zongjiu? He could even let Li Zongjiu blow himself up when he was refining the elixir. It was only after Yi Lone Moon left that these people dared to stand up slowly. The aura of such a superior being suppressed them to the point that they could not breathe. However, the people around them all cupped their fists and congratulated Hu Fei. Congratulations, brother Hu Fei. Once you enter Lone Moon Mansion and enter the Imperial Court, you will definitely become one of the strongest people in the world. You will have a meteoric rise and a meteoric rise. It's just a matter of time. They also lived with each other. Hu Fei also drank the wine in his cup in one gulp. He looked at the direction of the door. This was not what Hu Fei wanted. He did not want to work under Yi Lone Moon, he did not want to work under anyone else. He wanted to break out of his own world. He wanted to make all these powerful people bow down to him. This was the thought of every talented person. They all wanted to rely on their own talent and luck to change their own destiny and change their own future. What he wanted was not just to bow and scrape in front of Yi Lone Moon. This was an opportunity that he had to seize. The reason why Yi Lone Moon looked for Hu Fei was naturally to think of a way to kill Li Zongjiu. Even though he had sent out the hidden moon guards, they did not seem to have returned. It could be said that they had really lost everything. There was actually no news of them. Li Zongjiu had already returned. This was enough to explain the problem. Li Zongjiu had killed them all. Anyway, these hidden moon guards were all dead. How much power did a mere Li Zongjiu have? Yi Lone Moon realized that he had underestimated this Li Zongjiu. Hence, he did not panic this time. He directly asked Hu Fei to attack and give Hu Fei a reason to kill Li Zongjiu. At the same time, he also wanted to test the abilities of this Li Zongjiu. The next day, Li Zongjiu got out of bed and folded the blanket neatly. He looked at the time. There were still 4 hours before the alchemy battle began. Hence, he went to the library in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor and flipped through some books. Of course, most of them were related to mental strength. Although the vast number of flying daggers by my side has increased my mental strength, I still need some mental strength training. Is there such a place? Li Zhongjiu hoped that his mental strength would become stronger. That was not the case at all. Based on the current situation, his spiritual power had been tempered too little. Just like a slightly thicker rope, if the other party was stronger, then it would be very easy to tear your mental strength apart. To enter the Genius Tower, one's mental strength must be strong enough. Too much time has passed and some places have changed. However, this place seems to be good. Li Zhongjiu flipped through the ancient books in his hands and finally found a suitable place for him to train. Serious Howling Moon Valley. Everyone called it the Howling Moon Valley. In the Howling Moon Valley, there was a large number of Howling Moon Wolves. These Howling Moon Wolves were not very strong. However, every full moon night, when they howled at the moon, there would be a terrifying mental strength suppression. Hence, if one wanted to enter the valley to search for something, one had to leave before the sky turned dark. Otherwise, he would be torn to shreds by the howls of the moon-howl wolf at night. Chapter 367. Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, Multipath Plaza. Many people had already gathered in the plaza. Hu Fei had already arrived at the scene early. In order to ensure that his essence qi was vigorous today, Hu Fei didn't drink too late last night. Even after returning, he meditated for a while. There was actually a student challenging a teacher in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Such an exciting battle naturally made the teachers and students of the entire academy boil. It was said that some of the third years had also returned to the academy to watch the battle. Li Zhongjiu. I've never heard of this name before. I hope it's not someone who's trying to attract attention. I heard that the bets outside are quite big. I wonder what's going on. Some people love to gamble, so naturally, they would pay attention to the news. However, some people weren't part of it, so it was hard to say what was going on. But more or less, they had heard some rumors. Mo Suli and Mu Qingyun sat in their own seats. The first and second years had to sit according to their class, and not sit around randomly. Kuan Erisher sat in his seat early. Beside Kuan Erisher, there was only Ling Yan. Where's Li Zhongjiu? Did he run away? Ling Yan asked Kuan Erisher. Kuan Erisher also shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. I don't know. When I woke up in the morning, I went to knock on his door, but I didn't see him. Kuan Erisher said. He went out. Then why isn't he here yet? It's going to start soon. He couldn't have really run away, right? But it's good that he ran away. Ling Yan thought for a while. Although it was a little embarrassing, after this matter was over, he would come out and apologize. Then, the matter would be settled. It wasn't a wise thing to destroy his own future just for a breath of air. As Li Zhongjiu's teacher, naturally, he would help Li Zhongjiu think of the best outcome. He would do his best to help Li Zhongjiu settle this matter. It's good that he ran away. That kid is quite smart. The sun was especially bright today. The person who was in charge of this alchemy battle was the deputy dean of the Heavenly Gone Court. An old man with one foot in the coffin. But don't underestimate this old man. The old man was known as the Red Pill Elder. It was said that he was born with the power of primordial spirit and could control the terrifying Red Pill fire. The Scarlet Core fire was 70% more powerful than ordinary Yuan Force fire. It was a terrifying ability. With such an advantage and his innate talent, the Scarlet Core old man was not as famous as the South Heaven Pill King. However, in terms of strength, they were equally matched. It was just that old man Red Pill was more low-key. Even the South Heaven Pill King had to greet the Red Pill old man respectfully when he saw him. Originally, this alchemy competition didn't need to alarm the Vice Dean level. However, Ling Yan made a move and specially invited this old man out. His purpose was to keep an eye on Hu Fei and prevent him from hurting Li Zhongjiu. If necessary, he also wanted to protect Li Zongjiu's life. The Scarlet Core old man also raised his eyelids. In the eyes of an alchemist, an alchemy battle was an extremely serious activity. This was a battle where one's life was at stake. It was a battle where one had to use one's life to win one's dignity. Even if one lost, as long as one stood upright and acted honorably, one would still become an object of respect in the eyes of many. Everyone would respect each other, but if both sides agreed to avoid the battle, then they would be despised by others. There was an hourglass beside the Scarlet Core old man. If Li Zongjiu didn't appear after the hourglass finished, the competition wouldn't need to continue. It would be judged as Li Zongjiu's failure. Then, the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor would enforce the result. Those who should be kicked out would be kicked out. After all, insulting this alchemy battle was an insult to one's career as an alchemist. He's coming, he's coming. Kun Erisher saw Li Zongjiu slowly walking over from afar and immediately patted Ling Yan who was beside him. When Ling Yan saw Li Zongjiu's arrival, he didn't know how to face him. It was naturally a good thing that he came, at least he wouldn't lose too much face. However, if he lost, Hu Fei would definitely not let Li Zongjiu off easily and would definitely make things difficult for him. However, if he didn't come, he would have already lost more than half of his reputation. Since he's here, let's just take it as it comes. Ling Yan and Li Zongjiu looked at each other and gave the latter a look of affirmation. However, in the end, she realized that Li Zongjiu didn't even look at her. Instead, he walked straight to the training hall. However, the first person that Li Zongjiu saw wasn't Hu Fei. His attention first fell on the highly respected vice principal of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor, the Scarlet Core old man who was sitting in the middle. There was obviously some astonishment in his eyes. The Scarlet Core old man was also puzzled. What did Li Zongjiu's gaze mean? Could it be that he knows me? Even if he worships me, he shouldn't look at me with such a gaze. Just as the Scarlet Core old man was puzzled, Li Zongjiu spoke. Old man read. Li Zongjiu looked at the Scarlet Core old man in front of him with some astonishment. The reason why he was so surprised was because in his previous life, he had interacted with the Scarlet Core old man before, and it was after he became famous. The Scarlet Core old man was simply a shameless master. Most importantly, the Scarlet Core old man was very studious and liked to ask questions shamelessly. He could pester people to death. Li Zongjiu had been pestered by the Scarlet Core old man for a long time in his previous life. For more than 100 years, he had been shrouded by the Scarlet Core old man. If the Scarlet Core old man had an extremely arrogant attitude, Li Zongjiu would have killed him long ago and thrown him off the cliff to end everything once and for all. However, the Scarlet Core old man was incomparably tactful. Every time he came to ask Li Zongjiu for advice, he would always bring him something. They would always be able to bring Li Zongjiu the things he needed, such as some crucial medicinal ingredients, some extremely precious but very exotic elemental formulas, and so on. Knowing that Li Zongjiu liked to collect these things, the Scarlet Core old man collected them all day long. It was so that Li Zongjiu could guide him. That's right. It's because of you that I came to the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor. Li Zongjiu remembered. The reason why he came back to the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor was also because of the Scarlet Core old man's invitation. However, Li Zongjiu was not in his previous life. Now that he had been reborn, Li Zongjiu still did not possess the strength to make the Scarlet Core old man bow down to him. Furthermore, he still had to call the Scarlet Core old man Bold Man Chi in public. This kind of rebellious behavior was simply rebellious. Anyone who heard this would be so shocked that their jaws dropped. Even Hu Fei, who regarded Li Zongjiu as a dead man, widened his eyes. At this moment, he truly admired the enemy in front of him. Li Zongjiu was simply courting his own death. There was actually such a person. It seemed that Li Zongjiu was really courting death. Ling Yan and Kun Erisher were sitting in the first row. They also heard this clearly. Instantly, their expressions became extremely strange. They had never expected Li Zhongjiu to put on such a show. What was the meaning of this? Did he not want to live anymore? Did Li Zhongjiu think that provoking Hu Fei was not enough? Now, he wanted to tease the deputy dean. Cough cough, even the scarlet core old man glared at Li Zhongjiu. What did you say? The scarlet core old man's voice was filled with dignity. What a joke. If he was teased by a young man today, how could he, the scarlet core old man, show his face in the future? However, Li Zhongjiu reacted quickly. Things were different now. He had yet to become an origin emperor. He was only at the origin ancestor realm. With the scarlet core old man's strength, a casual slap was enough to turn Li Zhongjiu into minced meat. According to the memory of his previous life, the scarlet core old man's cultivation was definitely quite strong in the heavenly dawn medicine manner. At the very least, he was at the 8th grade origin king realm. It was only after meeting Li Zhongjiu and shamelessly begging for an elixir from Li Zhongjiu that he broke through and became an origin emperor realm expert. However, that was close to 1,000 years later. Both parties have agreed to an alchemy battle. Now that the time has come, I will explain the rules. In the alchemy battle, there is no life or death, only victory or defeat. If Li Zhongjiu loses, he will be automatically expelled from the heavenly dawn medicine manor. If Hu Fei loses, he will be permanently removed from the heavenly dawn medicine manor. He will not be able to take half a step into the heavenly dawn medicine manor for the rest of his life. Do both parties have any objections? Chapter 368. Nope. Hu Fei nodded. Li Zhongjiu also expressed that he had no problem with it. He could go up and kill him at any time. But now, it was an alchemy competition. Judge elders, please take your positions. During the competition, no one is allowed to approach the stage. Qi Dan said as the two sat on the ground. There were 2 praying mats on the stage. Other than that, there was nothing else. Even the cauldron had to be prepared. Hu Fei let out a low roar. Suddenly, a huge black gold cauldron appeared on the stage. When the black gold cauldron landed on the ground, the entire ground shook. It's as heavy as a mountain. As expected of the golden mountain cauldron. To heat it up to a sufficient temperature with such weight, one would need a considerable amount of elemental energy. Mu Qingyun said in surprise when she saw this scene. To be able to use the golden mountain cauldron, one's strength should be extremely strong. Mo Suli's eyes were also filled with surprise. Hu Fei didn't participate in the alchemy competition last year because of the quota. But in fact, Hu Fei's strength and battle record were extremely good. At least in some of the official alchemy competitions, he had always been in the top 10. In the entire Xingyan dynasty, there weren't many people who could beat Hu Fei. At the same age. Moreover, it was said that Hu Fei had once been to the #1 alchemy sect in the world, the Precious Tree Alchemy Sect. After a series of challenges. Precious Tree Alchemy Sect. Not many people knew of this alchemy sect's name. Ordinary people didn't have that kind of qualification. It was rumored that the Precious Tree Alchemy sect had a 6th grade alchemy emperor who could refine 6th grade pills. Because he had such an extraordinary ability, he didn't care much about everything in the mortal world. Therefore, he was in a semi-secluded state. Only through special channels could he find him. It said that when the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor visited the Precious Tree Alchemy sect, Hu Fei once fought with the other party's disciple. Although he didn't win, he didn't weaken the Academy's prestige. Therefore, the Academy made Hu Fei a mentor. Mu Qingyun said. To be able to have such achievements at the age of 23, ordinary people wouldn't be able to achieve this even if they spent their entire lives. This was the innate gap. Hu Fei disdained to look down on him. The Golden Mountain Cauldron's aura was like a mountain. It was enough to shatter some medicinal cauldrons that were not strong enough. If Li Zhongjiu's medicinal cauldron was not strong enough, then it would be shattered by the aura of the Golden Mountain Cauldron. At that time, it would really be the biggest joke in the world. Li Zhongjiu naturally knew what Hu Fei was up to. However, since Hu Fei wanted to show off, Li Zhongjiu would show him what a real imposing aura was. Zhang Xian placed his palm over the storage ring in his hand and flicked his wrist. His mental energy brought the Azura Cauldron to the arena. Boom! When the Azura Cauldron appeared, it was as if a peerless demon king had been released. In an instant, the aura on the stage was like a crazy wave of bees and butterflies. It was as if an Azura had crawled out from the depths of hell. At this moment, not to mention Hu Fei, even Qi Dan's heart tightened. This kind of imposing aura was not something an ordinary person could possess. How could such a strong murderous aura be used to refine pills? It was more like it was used to kill people. Using such a medicinal cauldron to refine pills was like seeing an executioner who had killed countless people knitting a sweater. What? Hu Fei's eyes widened. Placed in front of Li Zhongjiu was a medium-sized medicinal cauldron. It was almost a meter tall, but the legs of the cauldron were like sharp claws that easily pierced into the ground. The entire cauldron was dark red in color. Facing Hu Fei, it was like a blood tiger that was ready to attack. Facing such a terrifying aura, Hu Fei clearly felt that the Golden Mountain Cauldron in his hand seemed to be trembling. Under the aura of Li Zhongjiu's Azura Cauldron, it actually trembled slightly. Hu Fei hurriedly slapped the Golden Mountain Cauldron. If this fellow was forced back, then the one who would be embarrassed would be him, Hu Fei. It's just something that I bought with money. Refining pills requires true ability. Next, I'll show you my true ability. Hu Fei was about to release the Yuan fire that he had painstakingly cultivated to amaze the entire audience. As soon as the flame in his hand appeared, it gave off a sickly feeling. What's going on? At this moment, the entire audience was in an uproar. The medicinal cauldron was one thing. After all, it could be bought. However, the Yuan fire depended on one's own strength. Hence, when Li Zhongjiu released the black dazzle fire, everyone present could clearly feel the power and deterrence of the flame. What a powerful flame! This kid is not simple. Qi Dan could not help but glance at Li Zhongjiu. At the beginning, when Li Zhongjiu looked at her, there seemed to be a sense of familiarity. However, she could not remember when she had seen Li Zhongjiu before. However, the black dazzle fire was indeed powerful. Even from such a long distance away, they could clearly feel the terrifying power contained within. As for Hu Fei, needless to say, he was completely dumbfounded. What kind of operation was this? Why would such a terrifying aura appear? How could it be? Why is this kid's Yuan Qi so strong? And this flame? What's going on with this flame? What's going on? He could clearly feel the aura released by Li Zhongjiu. Hu Fei did not understand and did not dare to believe that Li Zhongjiu could possess such power. Ling Yan, who was sitting below, also blinked his eyes. When he saw this aura, he knew in his heart that Li Zhongjiu was not provoking Hu Fei from the beginning, nor was he really acting tough. Instead, it was to say that he really did not put Hu Fei in his eyes. In terms of various auras, Hu Fei was completely suppressed by Hu Fei. Whether it was the Azura Cauldron in his hand or the appearance of the black dazzle fire, he had already proved his strength. From the beginning, Hu Fei was already at a disadvantage. Soon, Li Zhongjiu began to refine the pill. Boom! The black dazzle fire rose and danced in the Azura Cauldron. Li Zhongjiu's mental energy also spread out, and the herbs in his hand were thrown into the cauldron like moving clouds and flowing water. When they saw Li Zhongjiu's operation, they finally understood what alchemy was. One hand was maintaining the flame in the cauldron, while the other hand was adding herbs from time to time, controlling the temperature and the situation. Seeing that Li Zhongjiu had already begun, Hu Fei hurriedly rushed out. Hu Fei also hurriedly entered the state. At this moment, even with his identity as a fifth-grade alchemist, his hands were a little unstable. The flame slightly jumped, which was a sign that he was not in a good state. Immediately, Hu Fei could only forcefully control his hands. If he embarrassed himself in front of so many people, he really did not have the courage to live. During the alchemy process, the people below were also very serious, but basically, they were watching Li Zhongjiu's operation, the refining time of each herb, the refining method, and the different times after the elixir was put in, and so on. They all carefully memorized it in their hearts. During the refining process, Li Zhongjiu's face was also relaxed. On the other hand, Hu Fei seemed to be even more erratic. He made a few mistakes and destroyed the medicinal ingredients that he refined. Although this kind of situation often occurred, those that were burned were only some ordinary supplementary herbs that added some very weak effects. Being burned by Hu Fei like this, it was extremely unprofessional. Therefore, most of the people's eyes fell on Li Zhongjiu. This kid, what kind of elixir is he refining? And this kid, why does he look like he is not here to learn? Qi Dan's gaze fell on Li Zhongjiu, and she was also curious about Li Zhongjiu. Obviously, she also knew that Li Zhongjiu's elixir grade was not low, but looking at Li Zhongjiu's calm appearance, it seemed that he had a well-thought-out plan, and had a lot of experience in refining high-quality elixirs. Seeing that Li Zhongjiu had added so many herbs before, she did not think of a corresponding elixir formula. Even some of the methods of adding herbs, she had not heard of. Great Desolation Grass. Shock flashed in Qi Dan's eyes. The refining effect of the Great Desolation Grass had been studied and analyzed by the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Hall until now, to make the most precise definition and the most common usage. But for now, the progress was minimal. Seeing Li Zhongjiu refining the Great Desolation Grass, Qi Dan was shocked. Could it be that Li Zhongjiu was very familiar with the Great Desolation Grass? Heavenly Vein 7 stars, after refining the Great Desolation Grass, there were no other changes in the cauldron. Finally, when Li Zhongjiu took out the Heavenly Vein 7 stars, Qi Dan understood what kind of elixir Li Zhongjiu was refining. This kid is actually refining the Daluo Heavenly Vein elixir. Below the stage, Ling Yan also exclaimed. Daluo Heavenly Vein elixir, this guy is crazy, and he actually found the Heavenly Vein 7 stars. Chapter 369. The Great Overarching Heaven Pulse Pill was different from ordinary fifth-grade pills. There were some pill recipes that were publicly recognized, and there were many ways for people to obtain them. After all, even if you were given the recipe, it was normal if you didn't have the ability to refine it. Among the fifth-grade pills, there were many more common pills. For example, the Qing Tsang spiritual pill that Hu Fei was refining now was relatively common. However, if it was refined well, it could even reach the middle fifth-grade pill realm. The advantage of the Qing Tsang spiritual pill was that it could be graded according to the quality of the refinement. As long as there was the word origin spirit behind the pill, it could be treated as a common pill. The Great Overarching Heaven Pulse Pills recipe had only appeared in recent years. It was only a few years ago that someone found the Great Overarching Heaven Pulse Pills recipe in a mysterious relic. However, it was too difficult to find the Heavenly Pulse 7 stars, and not many people had found it. So until now, there was only the recipe for the Great Overarching Heaven Pulse Pill, and there had never been a finished product. Although some people had found the Heavenly Pulse 7 stars, they didn't dare to refine it. If it was destroyed, wouldn't it be a waste of the Heavenly Pulse 7 stars? At such a critical moment, he had actually concocted such a difficult pill. Was Li Zhongjiu confident, or did he really have that kind of strength, a kind of fearless strength? Qi Dan's eyes widened. Originally, he came here to give Ling Yan face. After all, Ling Yan's identity was there. She was the granddaughter of the mansion master. With this identity, who would dare to offend her? Moreover, Qi Dan was very knowledgeable in this aspect and knew how to conduct herself. Hence, he came. He thought that it would only be a waste of a day's time. However, when he saw Li Zongjiu refining the great overarching heaven pulse pill, he could no longer hold back the excitement in his heart. Look at how powerful this kid is. If Li Zongjiu dared to waste the heavenly pulse 7 stars, Li Zongjiu's head would be twisted off by Qi Dan. He had to teach Li Zongjiu a harsh lesson. He had to be punished for wasting God's gift. Some people recognized the pills refined by Li Zongjiu, such as Kuan Erisher. Kuan Erisher had never imagined that Li Zongjiu would have such guts. If he were to fail, then he could only wait to die. He could just casually concoct a second-grade pill and he could easily defeat him. Therefore, Li Zongjiu's risky behavior was very dangerous. Alchemy battles were such a process. Not only did it test one's cultivation, but it also tested one's state of mind and mental quality. Everyone only had one chance. If they lost, then they would be completely defeated. No one would give them another chance. Therefore, strength was important, but luck and choice were also very important. Of course, there were also people who managed to break through the obstacles in front of them in an instant under such extreme circumstances. There were even countless people who managed to break through in the process of the alchemy battle. Some people couldn't see what kind of pill Li Zongjiu was refining. However, it didn't affect them from watching Li Zongjiu's alchemy process. Boom! In the process of refining, Li Zongjiu's azure cauldron suddenly emitted a terrifying light. It rushed to the sky, hovered in the sky, and then fell back into the azure cauldron with a bang. Heavenly dragon fetches water. Such an alchemy technique. It was so skillful. Qi Dan's eyes widened and looked at Li Zongjiu carefully. This Li Zongjiu couldn't be the incarnation of a 1,000-year-old monster, right? Otherwise, how could he have such terrifying strength? Moreover, this heavenly dragon fetches water technique couldn't be achieved without decades of experience. Even if Qi Dan personally performed it, the success rate of this technique would be very low. The light that rushed to the sky just now was none other than the medicinal liquid of the Daluo Heaven Pulse pill that was about to take shape. Firstly, it needed a certain temperature to cool down. Secondly, rushing to the sky was also a kind of imposing manner that could help one condense the power of the origin spirit. Therefore, it was called Heavenly Dragon Fetches Water. This step could be regarded as a method to give the pill spirituality. Under normal circumstances, some spirit spring water would be used to replace it, but Li Zongjiu's move was unusual. How could anyone who refined pills not have heard of this technique? Therefore, after seeing it, almost everyone was shocked. How terrifying! This guy's strength is too terrifying. Heavenly dragon fetches water, even my master can't do it so perfectly. This guy, Mo Suli's beautiful big eyes were also wide open. Obviously, in his eyes, he was also shocked by Li Zongjiu's ability. This guy, so he's been pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Ling Yan gritted her teeth as she spoke. To think that she was worried about Li Zongjiu previously. She was worried that Li Zongjiu wouldn't be able to settle this matter. She was even prepared to use forceful means to temporarily suppress this matter. But now, it seemed that there was no need for Ling Yan to worry. From Li Zongjiu's actions, it was clear that he didn't put Hu Fei in his eyes. Furthermore, Ling Yan had a feeling that Li Zongjiu didn't treat this as a life-and-death alchemy competition at all. Instead, he treated it as an ordinary alchemy activity. He didn't place Hu Fei in his eyes, nor did he place this competition in his eyes at all. He has never pretended to be a pig, Kuan Erisher couldn't help but say. Hearing Kuan Arashi's words, Ling Yan calculated in her heart. It seemed like this was indeed the case. Li Zongjiu didn't feel afraid of the other party at all. No matter who he met, no matter what, he would directly confront them. Even when he was in the White Blaze Mountain, he was able to fight 1 against 3, putting Zhao Qingfeng and the others down. This was true strength, making Zhao Qingfeng and the others unable to cry out. In some competitions, Li Zhongjiu had never suffered a loss, and it was impossible for him to suffer a loss in this life. Sitting on the other side, Zhao Qinfeng, Qin Huatian and the others were also anxious when they saw this scene. They had never imagined that their teacher would be at a disadvantage from the very beginning. After that, he was at a disadvantage in every aspect. Such a situation was indeed unbelievable, and they didn't dare to face it. If they lost, then their previous face would be completely lost, and they would never be able to get it back. Such a tragic ending was equivalent to so many of them, the entire class, added together, couldn't beat Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu didn't have so much mental activity, nor did he pay attention to other people's thoughts. Instead, he focused on refining the pill in his hand. Still lacking a bit. Li Zhongjiu looked at his azure cauldron. If he wanted to form the pill, he still needed some flames to strengthen it. But currently, Li Zhongjiu didn't have anything else in his hand that could be used to burn. At the same time, he didn't want to expose his white dragon origin spirit, so he immediately looked at the golden mountain cauldron. Then use your medicinal liquid to help me refine the pill. Immediately, Li Zhongjiu clapped his hands. The azure cauldron in front of him immediately erupted with an imposing aura, rushing forward. This was a terrifying aura of plunder. A wisp of obsidian fire directly fell into the golden mountain cauldron. Since it was an alchemy battle, such an act of attacking others was allowed. And most of the time, such a thing would happen. When they saw that Li Zhongjiu was actually taking the initiative to attack Hu Fei, they were even more surprised. If Li Zhongjiu were to calmly refine the pill, then he might really be able to refine the pill. After all, the most important thing was to go smoothly. But now that you are in an advantageous position, if you take the initiative to provoke others, isn't that giving others a chance to defeat you and counterattack? Even if the pill refinement fails, it doesn't matter. Whoever blows up the furnace first will lose. Don't worry about it. This wisp of obsidian flame was the fuse that ignited this battle. Hee, still want to play dirty with me? Seeing this, Hu Fei suddenly sneered. It just so happened that he lost to his opponent in terms of alchemy momentum, but it didn't mean that he wouldn't succeed. Since Li Zhongjiu took the initiative to attack, Hu Fei naturally had to attack. Hu Fei also took out the golden mountain cauldron in his hands. Suddenly, a golden flame surged out from the golden mountain cauldron and slashed towards Li Zhongjiu's obsidian fire. Boom! The obsidian fire instantly destroyed it. What? Hu Fei could not believe that the power of the obsidian flame was so strong that it could destroy his flames in an instant. The obsidian fire that destroyed Hu Fei's flame was on the verge of collapse. Instead, it rushed into the golden mountain cauldron. The golden mountain cauldron was filled with Hu Fei's flame, but it was completely suppressed by the obsidian fire. My golden mountain cauldron. At this moment, the golden mountain cauldron didn't move at all. Then, the obsidian fire seemed to bounce out instantly. With a whoosh, the obsidian fire flew out and returned to the azure cauldron with the medicinal liquid that Hu Fei painstakingly refined. How dare you steal my medicinal liquid? I'll kill you. Chapter 370. Li Zhongjiu's move was indeed astonishing. In just one round, Hu Fei was defeated. There was no room for him to turn the tables. The medicinal liquid entered Li Zhongjiu's cauldron and became fuel. It allowed Li Zhongjiu's elixir to take shape quickly under the high temperature. Awesome! The medicinal liquid that Hu Fei painstakingly refined became fuel for Li Zhongjiu. Koan Erasher was so excited that he almost jumped up when he saw this scene. This was simply too ferocious. Only Li Zhongjiu could do this to such an extent. Hu Fei was completely enraged. The medicinal liquid that he painstakingly refined was taken away by someone else. As an alchemist, if he couldn't even protect the things in his cauldron, what was the point of living? He would lose his dignity. Hu Fei immediately poured his origin energy into the golden mountain cauldron with all his might. The competition between alchemists naturally had its own rules. They were not allowed to use any origin skills. Otherwise, it would not be considered a competition between alchemists. Then, they would have to compete in the arena. The Golden Mountain Cauldron instantly rose into the air. It carried a terrifying aura and smashed down towards Li Zongjiu. It was obvious that it wanted to bury Li Zongjiu and the Azura Cauldron together. Everyone exclaimed when they saw the explosive smell of gunpowder in front of them. Everyone was curious as to how Li Zongjiu would deal with it. When the attack landed, Li Zongjiu calmly glanced at it. He didn't do anything else. When the Golden Mountain Cauldron smashed down, the Azura Cauldron released a strong murderous aura. Boom! It was as if an Azura stood up from the cauldron and caught the Golden Mountain Cauldron. In fact, it was Li Zongjiu's mind power that combined with the power of the Shura Cauldron in front of him to form a defense that blocked the Golden Mountain Cauldron. Under this light curtain, Li Zongjiu and the Azura Cauldron were safe and sound, not even affected in the slightest. The flames within the Azura Cauldron burned fiercely. When Hu Fei saw this, he noticed that the surface of the Azura Cauldron was already glowing. It was obvious that the pill was about to be formed. He had to interrupt Li Zongjiu at this moment. He had to disrupt Li Zongjiu's refinement. If Li Zongjiu succeeded, he would lose. Triple fiery golden seal. At this moment, Hu Fei no longer held back. Faced with Li Zongjiu's impending success, if he continued to delay his little love, he might really suffer in the end. When the first golden seal landed, the power of the Golden Mountain Cauldron instantly doubled. Li Zongjiu felt the pressure on his mind power and immediately lifted his head to take a look. However, he did not make any moves. Instead, he focused all his attention on infusing the obsidian fire within his body into the pill in his hand. Whoosh! The flames within the Azura Cauldron crackled, as if they had turned into an ocean. Even if a sky origin ancestor fell into the cauldron, it would not take long for him to turn into a pile of ashes and be poured out. It was a terrifying situation. Second seal. Seeing that his first seal had not worked, Hu Fei activated the second seal. This time, it was even more powerful. One of the cauldron legs of the Golden Mountain Cauldron had already broken through this layer of defense. The Azura Cauldron in front of him had also instantly sunk into the ground. Evidently, this move was so powerful that even the Azura Cauldron felt the pressure. You are courting death. Then go to hell with your pill. Hu Fei did not hold back anymore. He immediately channeled all his power into his hand. Triple fire golden seal, third seal. A dazzling golden light erupted from the Golden Mountain Cauldron. This golden light was like a sharp golden sword, instantly piercing through Li Zongjiu's defensive light shield. At this moment, there was no way to block it. The Golden Mountain Cauldron instantly fell with the force of Mount Tai. Some of the students exclaimed, as if this bloody scene would appear in front of them in the next moment. Rise! Li Zongjiu slapped the Azura Cauldron in his hand. At this moment, a pillar of fire erupted from the Azura Cauldron and shot up into the sky. Boom! The moment the pillar of fire erupted, it directly overturned the falling Golden Mountain Cauldron. The Golden Mountain Cauldron immediately flew up into the sky. The pillar of fire seemed to have soared for a very long time. My cauldron! Hu Fei cried out when he saw this scene. The Golden Mountain Cauldron had already soared into the sky, almost 1,000 meters above the ground. Accompanied by a surge of power, it was born from the pillar of fire. The Golden Mountain Cauldron instantly exploded into a pile of fragments with a loud boom. The Golden Mountain Cauldron actually exploded. The medicinal cauldron, which was made of such a strong material, actually exploded into pieces at this moment. A powerful aura spread out. Under this power, everyone could feel that this was a real aura of Mount Tai. This kind of power, in the eyes of anyone, was extremely shocking. Such a strong aura. Ling Yan was shocked when he saw this scene. In the light ball, an aura that seemed to announce to the world burst out. A kind of aura of a king was born. Grade 5 elixir. It's done. It's at least grade 5. This aura, at least of the intermediate grade 5 realm. Ling Yan did not even dare to think about it. Li Zhongjiu was just a freshman, but he had the ability to refine grade 5 elixirs. With this kind of strength, why did he need to come to the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor? Oh my God! This is defying the heavens. Seeing this scene, Qi Dan suddenly opened his mouth in surprise. Li Zhongjiu had actually refined it. Although he hadn't seen the real Daoyuo Heaven Meridian pill, judging from the aura, even if it wasn't the real Daoyuo Heaven Meridian pill, it was still stronger than the one recorded in the pill formula. Whoosh! Just as the elixir was slowly falling, a figure seemed to be unable to hold back. If Li Zhongjiu caught the elixir, it would be a real failure. Moreover, Li Zhongjiu destroyed his pill cauldron. He must make Li Zhongjiu pay the price. Hu Fei, who was wrapped in Yuan Qi fire, instantly soared into the sky and chased after the elixir. 1,000 meters in the sky, it only took a few breaths. You're courting death. Li Zhongjiu coldly snorted. His body moved slightly, but the Azura cauldron had already shot out from the ground. Whoosh! The Azura cauldron quickly chased after Hu Fei. Hu Fei looked back and immediately saw a pitch-black figure crushing towards him. Subconsciously, he thought to himself, oh no. But it was too late. One of the legs of the Azura cauldron instantly pierced through Hu Fei's chest. Qi! When the Azura cauldron pierced through Hu Fei's body, the elixir fell in front of him. Hu Fei could have caught the elixir and destroyed it, but now, the Azura cauldron pierced through his body. He did not even have the strength to breathe. What? He actually killed the teacher. Zhao Qinfeng and the others, who were originally sitting down to watch the show, were shocked when they saw this scene. Li Zhongjiu killed someone in broad daylight. Moreover, he killed Hu Fei in front of the deputy dean, in front of more than 500 teachers and students, and in front of everyone in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Such an action was extremely arrogant. Boom! The elixir fell into his hand. The Azura cauldron also fell back to the ground with a boom. Originally, it had only pierced a part of Hu Fei's body, but the moment it fell to the ground, it directly deepened. This caused Hu Fei's body to instantly twitch. His eyes widened as he stared at Li Zhongjiu with an extremely horrifying gaze, looking at Li Zhongjiu. Perhaps this was the true meaning of dying with grievances. However, Li Zhongjiu directly ignored Hu Fei's gaze. You've dirted my Azura cauldron. Li Zhongjiu directly put away the Azura cauldron and revealed the Daoyuo Heaven Pulse elixir in his hand. Deputy Dean, I didn't break the rules. Li Zhongjiu revealed his Daoyuo Heaven Pulse elixir. Its aura had been appraised. Intermediate grade 5. A new student, a 16-year-old youth, actually pointed out an intermediate grade 5 elixir in the coming year. He was afraid that in 2 years, he would surpass his scarlet elixir. As for killing someone, so many people witnessed the process with their own eyes, so there was no problem at all. After all, before the alchemy battle, it was already clear that in the alchemy battle, life and death were determined by fate. In this alchemy battle, Li Zhongjiu wins. Only the victor had the right to do so. Chapter 371. Li Zhongjiu won. It wasn't just a victory. He also directly subdued Hu Fei under the watchful eyes of the crowd. He was so decisive and so ruthless. Everyone only felt their heads shake. Hu Fei had been famous for many years and had a great future, but now in front of Li Zhongjiu, he didn't have any chance. Everything disappeared. It was because of the conflict between him and Li Zhongjiu that such a situation occurred. Hu Fei's students, Zhao Qinfeng, Qin Huatian, and the others all widened their eyes. Until now, they still couldn't wake up from the scene of Hu Fei's death. Murder, Murderer. Li Zongjiu, you dare to kill a teacher. Deceiving your teacher and destroying your ancestors. Zhao Qingfeng and the others immediately jumped out and accused Li Zongjiu, as if they wanted to ruin Li Zongjiu's image. Even if Li Zongjiu won this alchemy battle, they would definitely not let Li Zongjiu have an easy time. Li Zongjiu didn't care about the clamor of Zhao Qingfeng and the others. He said to Qi Dan. Then I can go now. Qi Dan glanced at Li Zongjiu. Regarding Hu Fei's death, Li Zongjiu didn't intend to give any explanation. It could even be said that he didn't care at all. Qi Dan naturally nodded. Middle grade 5 elixir. Moreover, it was the great overarching heaven pulse elixir. The difficulty of refining such an elixir was no less than that of a high grade 5 elixir. Li Zongjiu was definitely not an ordinary person to be able to refine such an elixir. As for Hu Fei's death, everyone had eyes to see, and they could all be present. He was killed in the process of the alchemy battle. Poor Hu Fei, he couldn't even refine such an elixir, and he didn't even have the chance to regret it. In Li Zongjiu's place, since he said he would kill you, he would definitely kill you. He would not leave you any leeway. Then, Li Zongjiu left the Dao Plaza under the watchful eyes of the crowd. In this alchemy battle, Li Zongjiu is the victor. Seal Hu Fei's body in ice and send it back to his clan. Since he lost the competition, he is no longer a member of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor. Instructors, please come to my classroom for a discussion. As for the rest of you, take this as a warning. As the Vice Dean, he naturally had to deal with the problem that had occurred. Very quickly, someone carried Hu Fei's corpse away. Li Zongjiu was considered polite. He left Hu Fei's corpse intact. If it was under other circumstances, he might have directly burned Hu Fei's corpse to the ground. He might not even need to bury Hu Fei's corpse. This matter had a huge impact on many of the disciples. When such a matter was placed in front of them, it was indeed shocking. Gong Jiu was also extremely shocked. However, when he saw that the one who died was Hu Fei, he sighed in relief. Instructor Hu Fei's reputation was not very good, so his death was not a big deal. After all, the only person Gong Jiu knew was Li Zongjiu. Among these people, the one who felt the most pressure and felt relieved was Jian Wushuang. The one who felt lucky was Murong Jian. With Murong Jian's temper, Li Zongjiu had contradicted him that day. In the future, he would definitely return the favor tenfold. Otherwise, how could he show his status and identity? Therefore, he had to ruthlessly humiliate Li Zongjiu. He even almost threw out his white gloves and challenged Li Zongjiu to an alchemy battle on the same day. However, today's battle allowed Murong Jian to clearly see the gap between him and Li Zongjiu. Mid-grade 5. This was a mid-grade 5 pill. Did you think it was a joke? Even now, Murong Jian had not successfully refined a high-grade 4 pill. However, Li Zongjiu had already broken through the mid-grade 5 realm. Moreover, he had directly refined a mid-grade 5 pill. Even among the many instructors in the academy, it was impossible to reach such a level. Compared to Li Zongjiu, he was far inferior. Just look at Hu Fei's fate. Not only did he let Li Zongjiu refine a mid-grade 5 pill, but he also made Hu Fei's pill into a sacrificial offering. It was directly burned until there was nothing left. How could anyone not be shocked by such a situation? Fortunately, he did not accept my alchemy battle that day. Murong Jian was arrogant, but he was not an idiot. If he really had an alchemy battle with Li Zongjiu, although Li Zongjiu might spare his life for his father's sake, he would definitely be humiliated by Li Zongjiu. That would be the beginning of the real pain. Now, Hu Fei was taking the lead. He set an example and let everyone know that Li Zongjiu was not someone to be trifled with. They even suspected that Li Zongjiu had purposely come to the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor to cause trouble. Ling Yan also headed to Qi Dan's classroom to prepare for the meeting. Kuan Erisher was also stunned by Li Zongjiu's move. A mid-grade 5 pill. You are really something. Kun Erisher thought in his heart. As long as Li Zongjiu was alive, Kun Erisher would not have any chance to stand out. After all, Li Zongjiu's strength was too terrifying. It was so oppressive that it made others unable to breathe. Mother is right. The outside world is really full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. However, I will win. Kun Erisher clenched his fists. There was no fear in his eyes. Instead, it was a burning fighting spirit. However, he took Li Zongjiu as his role model. Who could do it in the Heavenly Dawn medicine manner after killing an instructor and come out unscathed? Even Vice Principal Qi Dan seemed to think highly of Li Zongjiu. He did not intend to pursue the matter of Li Zongjiu's murder. If he wanted to stop it, Vice Principal Qi Dan would definitely have the opportunity to stop it. Kun Erisher quickly caught up with Li Zongjiu. He also had an indescribable admiration for Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu, you, wait for me. You are too awesome. You actually dared to kill Hu Fei in front of everyone. Kun Erisher gave a thumbs up. Originally, under the request of director Shang Diqing, the competition was supposed to be held a month later. However, Li Zongjiu directly said that there was no need for it. Today, everyone thought that Li Zongjiu was acting tough. However, now it seemed that Li Zongjiu was really awesome. I will treat you to a meal and a drink. Kun Erisher invited. Li Zongjiu glanced at Kun Erisher. I'm not free. The success of refining the Daluo Heaven Pulse Elixir also meant that Li Zongjiu could speed up his pace and improve his cultivation even faster. After refining the Daluo Heaven Pulse Elixir, Li Zongjiu's strength would rise to a new level. It wouldn't be long before he could challenge the Genius Tower. He wouldn't even need half a year to find the secret manual of the universe 9 revolving needles. Look at you. How can you not eat? Kun Erisher said. Suddenly, Li Zongjiu stopped and turned to Kun Erisher. Why did you change your mind? I know a good roasted lamb in the city. Shall we go and take a look? Since you are free, I have 2 gambling tickets here. Help me exchange them at the Great Joy Casino. Li Zongjiu said as he took out 2 gambling tickets. One was 100 million purple yuan, while the other was 200,000 purple yuan. However, this wasn't the main point. The main point was that the odds were 500 times. Of course, the specific odds were set according to the final situation of the casino. It would be set before the start of the alchemy battle and couldn't be changed. Moreover, it would be made public. In fact, the current odds were 900 times. In other words, the gambling ticket in Kun Arashi's hand was worth 90 billion purple yuan. When Kun Erisher saw the odds and the bet amount, his eyes couldn't help but stare. Even if Kun Erisher came from the Kun castle, he had never seen so much money in his hands. If he took this money and flew far away, it wouldn't be a problem even if he lived for thousands of years. Such an important matter was actually handed over to Kun Erisher. Lon Kun immediately felt a sense of honor, as if he had a mission. Hey, you have so much money. If you give it to me, aren't you afraid that I'll run away? Kun Erisher said, but Kun Erisher found that Li Zongjiu's figure had already gone far away. It seemed that he didn't care about the money in his hands at all. TSK, this is the real realm. Kun Erisher thought in his heart. Since Li Zongjiu had something to ask of him, Kun Erisher would make a trip. Even if he used his but to think, he could imagine that it wouldn't be a simple matter to get this money back. However, as long as it was reasonable and legal, Kun Erisher wasn't afraid. Previously, Boyu Casino also said that they only recognized the ticket and not the person. The reason why Li Zongjiu let Kun Erisher go was to test Kun Arashi's strength. If he couldn't even get this small amount of money back, then Li Zongjiu didn't need to train Kun Erisher. Since he was reborn, Li Zongjiu wanted to establish the strength of the Li family. Of course, he had to find some outside help. Although Li Zongjiu made a lot of enemies during this trip, if Li Zongjiu could establish a good relationship with some forces, it would be of great help to the future development of the Li family. Kuan Castle was naturally a good choice. Chapter 372. Li Zongjiu did not return to his room. If he were to cultivate in his room, it would be hard to avoid some problems. If someone were to plot against him, he would not know what would happen. Therefore, Li Zongjiu left the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor and headed to the Five Elements Yuan Tower in the city to make a breakthrough. He did not know how long this breakthrough would take. Therefore, Li Zongjiu needed to make sufficient preparations. After opening a secret cultivation room in the Five Elements Yuan Tower, Li Zongjiu first meditated for half an hour, adjusting his aura to its peak state. After that, he took out the Daoyuo Heaven Pulse Elixir. God knows how much hardship I went through when I ate you in my previous life. Li Zongjiu sighed in his heart. Strength was indeed a universal pass. You could choose not to display your strength, but you couldn't do without it. If you couldn't deal with these people, how could you sit here and enjoy the elixir in your hand? I will definitely make a breakthrough after refining this elixir. Li Zongjiu thought in his heart. Then, he placed the Daoyuo Heaven Pulse Elixir into his mouth and swallowed it. Boom! A tyrannical force instantly rampaged through Li Zongjiu's body like the five dragons. It was as if they were going to break his body apart. His internal organs were instantly crushed, but they quickly recovered. If it was anyone else, they would not be able to withstand such a tearing sensation. However, Li Zongjiu cultivated the ancient tyrant golden body art. It was a broken body. The more severe the injury, the stronger his strength would be. His body's recovery ability would also be stronger. While his body was being torn apart, it was also recovering. Terrifying energy poured into the yuan bead in his body. For low and deep ancient roars immediately erupted from within Li Zongjiu's body. This situation caused everyone's hearts to tremble. It seemed that the four dragon souls had completely awakened. Although it was isolated by the origin pattern array. However, a terrifying pressure was still being emitted from Li Zongjiu's secret training room. It permeated the entire Five Elemental Yuan House, causing the person in charge of the Five Elemental Yuan House to have no choice but to increase the strength of the Five Elemental Yuan House. Otherwise, if it affected the others, it would be a great loss and damage. Some people are also at an extremely crucial moment when they are breaking through. If they were to break through in your Five Elements origin building and be affected by the outside world, it would be a huge problem and trouble for them. Just as Li Zongjiu was about to make a breakthrough. Vice Principal Qi Dan and the others, who were reminiscing about today's alchemy battle, also had a heated discussion in Qi Dan's classroom. The focus of the discussion this time was not Hu Fei, who had been killed. Instead, it was the missing Beiho Liang. Since the day of the outdoor activity, Beiho Liang had not returned to the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor for 4 days. There was also no news about him in other places. A student of my Heavenly Star Medicine Manor has gone missing. This is no small matter. I don't care how much power you use, you must find this student called Beiho Liang. If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. Qi Dan's expression was extremely ugly. How many years had it been since something like this happened? A student of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor had actually gone missing in the Sacred Flame Royal City. How could this be justified? With a casual investigation, one would know that Beiho Liang had not left the city. Since he had not appeared until now, he had either been captured or killed. Vice Principal, the day before Beiho Liang's incident, we sensed that someone was spying on the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. However, this feeling of spying came and went quickly. One of the elders said. They were responsible for the safety of the academy. Now that something had happened, they naturally had to do something about it. Ever since the mansion master passed away, my Heavenly Day Medicine Manor's reputation has been deteriorating. If this continues, I'm afraid that we will be replaced by someone else. We must give an explanation for Beiho Liang's matter. Yes, Vice Principal. It was obvious that the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor could not tolerate such a thing. A living person had actually disappeared. This was not some desolate place. Therefore, Qi Dan wanted to see who exactly was going against the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. If they were caught, they would definitely not let them off. Besides, today's incident with Hu Fei should be a warning to everyone. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you're a teacher. There are talented people in every generation. Whenever you encounter someone or something, you must deal with it in a low-key manner. You actually went against a student and ruined your own future. Don't you think that this is an injustice? When Qi Dan said this, he shook his head repeatedly. He seemed to feel extremely helpless at this moment. Who would have thought that such a thing would happen? However, if it was not Hu Fei's death, it would be Li Zongjiu's death. No matter who was in trouble, it was not something that the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor wanted to see. Therefore, he was telling these people not to accept the alchemy battle easily. Vice Principal, who will fill the vacancy of the second year's class teacher? Someone asked. Since Hu Fei was dead, of course, someone had to fill the vacancy. Otherwise, there would not be a class teacher for the second year of the Heavenly STEM Institute. There were many things that needed to be done. Sun Yu, you take over first. Qi Dan casually appointed an elder to temporarily take over and wait for a suitable person to take over. These class teacher positions were basically handed over to the younger generation. After all, there were many things to deal with. Moreover, this was also an opportunity for the younger generation to train. The older generation wanted to cultivate and comprehend. Of course, there were also some people who preferred power. Sun Yu was an ordinary person among the elders. However, his strength was not weak. He had contributed a lot to the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. He had worked hard for many years. Now that he was assigned to this position, he expressed his gratitude to the Vice Principal Qi Dan. There's one more thing. In the Royal City, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion has joined forces with a few other great alchemy institutes in the city. They are holding an alchemy exchange. Sun Yu, you will lead the team and take a look at the requirements. After that, you will organize some people to deal with them. These people are really bored. Qi Dan said. The Purple Pill Institute was also a powerful alchemy institute in the Royal City. Although its scale could not be compared to the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, it still had many achievements in the past few years. The South Heaven Pill King came from the Purple Pill Institute. It could be said that the Purple Pill Institute had nurtured him. Now that the South Heaven Pill King's reputation was like the sun in the sky, the Purple Pill Institute's position was also gradually rising. Currently, the Purple Pill Institute was also sitting on the second position in the city. There was also the Four Seas Medicine Hall. The Four Seas Medicine Hall was supported by the four great clans. However, the four great clans did not interfere with the operation of the Four Seas Medicine Hall. They only provided a certain amount of support. The rise of the Four Seas Medicine Hall was also quite fast. There were countless people who wanted to be apprenticed to a master. However, the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor only recruited the elites of the elites and the geniuses of the geniuses. There were also some geniuses and elites who had drifted to other institutions. This was also very normal. There was no reason for so many geniuses to be lost just like that. Therefore, they specially established such an institute. However, they did not expect that the effect of this institute would be so good. Not only did it allow the four great clans to earn a lot of money, but it also unearthed many talents. However, there were some difficulties in the resources of instructors. In the beginning, they spent a lot of money and even poached a few instructors from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Although the combined strength was not weak, the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor did not put it in their eyes. However, they couldn't disagree with the direction of their future development. Therefore, it was necessary for them to produce some people in such an environment. It was necessary for everyone to express their opinions. After all, no one could say for sure what would happen in the future. Chapter 373. When Kuan Erisher walked into the Broad Joy Casino. First of all, they had already sensed that something was not right. The moment he entered the door, there were at least 10 pairs of eyes that directly swept across Lon Kuan's body. However, they quickly ignored him. It was as though they had seen that Lon Kuan was not someone they were close to. Are all casinos so heavily guarded these days? Kuan Erisher could not help but mutter in his heart. It was still noon, so there were not many people in the casino, and many of the gambling tables were not open yet. However, there were still some people walking around the exchange station. What no one had expected was that, they could not believe that Hu Fei, who they had always thought highly of, was actually killed by Li Zongjiu. No one dared to believe that such a thing happened in the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor. Wasn't the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor a sacred place for alchemists? How could they kill someone? It was not a big deal to kill Hu Fei, but hundreds of millions of bets were directly lost. Almost all the major casinos were thanking Li Zongjiu for doing such a thing. Almost no one bet right. There was only one final result in this alchemy battle, and the probability of this result was very low. That was the probability of Li Zongjiu refining the middle grade 5th grade elixir. Before the Broad Joy Casino closed the bet, they had directly raised the odds of this column to 850 times. Now that such a dark horse had appeared, the casino would definitely make a profit under normal circumstances. However, there were so many casinos in the Sacred Flame Royal City. There was also a casino that lost money. They had spent so much energy and even used so much manpower to carry out this alchemy battle bet. In total, they had bet on this Broad Joy Casino, excluding Li Zongjiu's 100 million purple yuan. The total bet was only 37.2 billion purple yuan. This was because Boyu Casino's odds were already very high. In such a rushed situation, in less than a day, they had collected so much money. Following the appearance of the dark horse, Hu Fei's murder, no one had bet on this outcome. Therefore, all the money was won by Boyu Casino. However, a black horse appeared. This dark horse was Li Zongjiu himself. From the very beginning, Li Zongjiu had already planned everything. Now, all the other casinos were making money. However, this Great Delight Casino was the only one that suffered losses. The odds were 850 times. If Li Zongjiu's 100 million purple yuan was pushed down, then he would have to pay 85 billion purple yuan. 85 billion. This time, not only did they not earn a single cent, they even had to pay out close to 50 billion purple yuan. Who do you think would agree? After receiving the results, Tai-Fai immediately made arrangements. If Li Zongjiu dared to come, there was no need for him to go back. Even from the entrance of the Heavenly Day Medicine Manor, people had already been arranged. They had been monitoring Li Zongjiu all the way. If there was any opportunity, they would first kill Li Zongjiu and take back the gambling ticket, or even burn it on the spot. This was the most direct method. Although casinos had reserved tickets, it did not matter. As long as you could not produce the gambling ticket, then you had no way to prove that you had placed a bet. Could it be that the casino would cooperate with you to investigate? Therefore, the gambling ticket in Li Zongjiu's hands had become the hottest potato in the Sacred Flame Royal City. Not only did Boyu Casino want to deal with Li Zongjiu, but even some people who had heard of this matter wanted to deal with Li Zongjiu. This was something worth 85 billion purple yuan. What could be so valuable? Even if you couldn't cash it out, you could still sell it for a good price on the black market. There were fewer desperados in the royal city because life was so good. Everyone lived so comfortably and there was no need to risk their lives. However, as long as the price was right, there would be people willing to do anything. I'm here to exchange the gambling ticket. When Kun Erasher saw that the odds had risen to 850 times, he was surprised. This was too fierce. It seemed that Li Zongjiu's luck was quite good. However, after thinking about it, this Li Zongjiu was very clear about his own strength. Kun Erasher first handed over a gambling ticket worth 200,000 purple yuan. This was bought by Li Zongjiu for Gongjiu. When the person received the gambling ticket, he was surprised at first, but it was nothing. He glanced at Kun Erasher. Although the price was not low, under such odds, there were still people who were willing to take the risk. Therefore, when Li Zongjiu refined a 5th-grade middle-level medicinal pill, there were still people who came to buy it, but it was just a small order. These betting tickets were all available for exchange. In the end, 200,000 purple yuan was exchanged for 170 million purple yuan. Relatively speaking, it was not a small sum. However, Boyu Casino did not hesitate and gave all the gambling tickets to Kun Erasher, but when giving, they asked one more question. "Brother, your luck is good." The casino's person said. "It's not mine, it's someone else's. I have another one here, help me exchange it." After counting the tickets in the box, the number was correct. Kun Erasher first put away the gambling ticket, but when the other gambling ticket was pushed in, the casino's person saw it and immediately opened his eyes wide. "Close the door." With a command, the door of Boyu Casino was closed with a bang. Clatter. Suddenly, more than 10 figures jumped down from the second floor of the casino. They held a sharp weapon in their hands, with 2 sharp ends and a round middle, like a stick, but also like a short spear. Kun Erasher could not help but look back. More than 10 auras were all locked on Kun Arashi's body. With a command, these 10 sharp thorns could easily behead Kun Erasher. "You are Li Zongjiu's accomplice." Taifai's voice came from upstairs. When Kun Erasher raised his head, he already saw Taifai not far behind him. What a fast skill! Kun Erasher could not help but be surprised, but he was not afraid of the scene in front of him. He was a disciple of Kun Castle. When he was born, he had to accept the baptism of death. Only by standing up under the aura of death could he become a disciple of Kun Castle. Therefore, this threat was nothing to Kun Erasher. This kind of threat even gave Kun Erasher a familiar feeling. In this kind of environment, his body seemed to become excited. "It seems like I have to fight to get the money," Kun Erasher said indifferently. The corner of his mouth twitched. In the next moment, Kun Arashi's eyes bloomed with a deep blue light. A ray of blue light bloomed from Kun Arashi's hand. At the same time, a ray of light appeared in his palm. Behind Kun Erasher, a shadow slowly appeared. The aura of the deep sea, floating in the world. The shadow was barren and empty, and its appearance could not be seen clearly. However, a pair of eyes could be seen opening in the barren space, staring at the people in front of it. Including Taifai, they instantly felt as if their lives were in someone's hands. In Kun Arashi's hand, an azure-long spear was also spitting out this terrifying aura. Kun locked wings. This was the name of the long spear. When Taifai saw the Yuan spirit power released by Kun Erasher, he immediately fell into a state of fear. Even though he was here and forcefully used his Yuan spirit power to cover his entire body, he still could not block this wave of fear. Just when Taifai and the others could not bear it anymore, a skinny hand directly pressed on Taifai's shoulder, helping to block this wave of aura. Taifai looked at the person beside him, and his eyes were instantly filled with joy. "Old Xue. You're here." Xue Jiang grinned. "I was wondering where this fellow came from, to actually dare to make an enemy out of the Yi family. So it's the lad from Kun Castle." Xue Jiang's gloomy eyes fell on Kun Arashi's back. Even though he had come personally, he still felt a sense of fear when he felt the Yuan spirit power from Kun Castle. Fortunately, Xue Jiang's cultivation level was higher, so he was able to withstand it. Which faction of Kun Castle are you from? Xue Jiang asked faintly. Kun Erasure also felt the aura coming from the other party. Although he had not reached the Yuan monarch level, he was not far from it. A half-step Yuan monarch, or even an elite who was about to condense the Yuan monarch's state of mind. The 48th generation of Arakuni's disciple, Kun Erasure. In Kun Castle, there were a total of 3 factions. They were the Arakuni faction, the Gu Kun faction, and the Xue Kun faction. The 3 factions supported each other, but at the same time, they competed with each other. Whenever there was a major event in Kun Castle, the leaders of the 3 factions would have to come and discuss it. So it's the disciple of Arakuni. Even if the leader of the desolate Kun race came, he would still have to be a guest in the Yi family mansion. How dare you, a chaotic lad, cause trouble in the territory of the Yi family. Today, I will teach you a lesson on behalf of your leader. Xue Jiang shouted in a low voice. Immediately, he bent his claws and 3 blood blades flew out from between his fingers. A blood shadow also appeared behind Xue Jiang. It was Xue Jiang's Yuan spirit that appeared. 3-legged blood eagle. Teach me a lesson. I'm afraid you've become muddle-headed. Kun Erasure was not afraid at all. So what if his Yuan spirit was tyrannical? As a disciple of Kun Castle, he would become stronger when facing a strong opponent. He swung his Kun wing spear fiercely and almost threw out a deep cold force, directly deflecting the 3 blood blades. In the next moment, Xue Jiang's figure was already closing in on Kun Erasure. He opened his arms like a blood eagle flapping its wings. Blood Yuan spirit gushed out from his arms like raindrops. Blood feather kill. The long spear in Kun Arashi's hand vibrated and a Yuan spirit shield appeared in front of him, blocking all of his opponent's attacks. Chapter 374. Countless blood feathers landed on Kun Arashi's defense. Just as Xue Jiang's attack was about to take effect, a violent explosion rang out at the same spot. Amidst the explosion, a figure could be seen breaking through the layers of fog. Boom! Kun Erasure, who was holding the Kun wing spear, swung his spear and a huge Kun appeared behind him. Kun dragon ascends to the heavens. With a low roar, a terrifying aura was released. Seeing the Leviathan dragon charging towards him, Xue Jiang froze on the spot for a moment. However, Xue Jiang reacted quickly. Block it. The blood eagle behind him immediately used its wings to block in front of Xue Jiang. Bang! This move instantly landed on Xue Jiang's body. The power of the Kun dragon directly shattered the blood eagle in front of him. All of the blood eagle's power turned into nothingness at this moment, disappearing completely in the blink of an eye. What? Xue Jiang did not expect his opponent's power to be so strong. With just one move, he defeated the blood eagle. The Yuan spirit power returned to his body. However, the power of Kun Arashi's move did not dissipate. The remaining power continued to bombard Xue Jiang's body. Bang! Xue Jiang's figure flew backwards. He directly broke a stone pillar. Xue Jiang sat on the ground. Just as he was about to get up, he saw Kun Erasure throw out the spear in his hand. Chi! The Kun wing spear directly nailed Xue Jiang to the stone pillar. Ah! Xue Jiang immediately cried out in pain. When the spear pierced into his body, the Yuan spirit in his body seemed to be greatly disturbed. There was no way for him to gather his strength. He was directly shaken to the point that he was about to collapse. Unable to gather strength in his body, he naturally could not move. It was as if he was electrocuted. In just a few rounds, Xue Jiang was actually defeated. Xue Jiang was an expert that Taifai had painstakingly invited after reporting to the Yi clan. However, he was defeated in such a short time. Everyone was shocked. Even Taifai couldn't believe it. However, the person who was nailed onto the stone pillar was Xue Jiang. Blood continued to flow out from the wound. Now, let's exchange for this gambling ticket. Is there any problem? He saw that the people around him were immersed in shock, and some of them didn't even dare to speak. Kun Erisher didn't hold back and directly took out the list in his hand and placed it in front of Taifai. Taifai looked at Kun Erisher. In the past 2 days, could it be that his casino had offended the Taisui of these young heroes? Could it be that these old people were about to withdraw from the stage, and it was actually destroyed by these 2 young people? First, Li Zongjio had appeared. He had directly used 100 gold yuan to win 100 million purple yuan. Then, he had used the 100 million purple yuan to win 85 billion purple yuan. The difference between them and the multiplication rate shocked almost everyone. They were even wondering how it was possible. However, Li Zongjio had indeed done it. It was something that many people didn't even dare to think about. Today, they had already organized a team to deal with Li Zongjio. However, Li Zongjio had not even appeared. He had directly sent a person of similar age to exchange for money. Furthermore, he had easily defeated a half-step Yuan monarch elite. Xue Zhang's life was still hanging by a thread. If Kun Erisher wanted to kill him, it should be a very simple matter. Therefore, Taifai could not understand the current ways of the world. Were the young people nowadays so fierce? 85 billion purple yuan. Even if he killed him, he would not be able to take out 85 billion purple yuan. However, the other party's blade was now hanging over his head. If he was unwilling, he would directly chop him in half. When that happened, there would be nothing left to talk about. The temperament of these young people was not that easy to understand. Therefore, he did not dare provoke them too much. This is a crystal diamond card. One card can be exchanged for 10 billion purple yuan. Taifai took out 4 sparkling and translucent cards. Kun Erisher had naturally seen these crystal diamond cards before. These crystal diamond cards could withstand the attacks of Yuan monarchs and even withstand all kinds of harsh environments. Under some extreme circumstances, they could also remain intact for tens of thousands of years. Therefore, it was also the most convenient thing to use for storing value. Generally, such things were stored in family vaults. He had not expected to be able to obtain 4 of them at once today. This was practically the greatest amount of wealth Kun Erisher had ever seen. Therefore, Kun Erisher was a little excited when he received the crystal diamond cards. This kind of excitement was dozens or even hundreds of times greater than when he had defeated a half-step Yuan monarch elite. There are still 45 billion purple yuan left. Give me 3 months. I will hand it over to you when I have the money. The casino required a large amount of cash flow every day, and a lot of it was in the form of accounts. Therefore, it was extremely difficult to cash out so much money at once. This was 45 billion purple yuan. If it was calculated in gold yuan, it would be an unimaginable amount of money. That was why Taifai was behaving this way. Plus, there was definitely a way to offset this debt in 3 months. He had originally thought that Kun Erisher would be more tactful and stop after receiving so much money. After all, it would not be good for anyone if things turned sour. However, since Kun Erisher had been entrusted by Li Zongjio, it would be very embarrassing if he could not even get such a small amount of money back. He. You wish. If you are unable to fork out the money today, you will have to pay with something of the same value. Kun Erisher said bluntly. It felt as though he had come to collect the debt. Only Kun Erisher could force the Great Delight Casino into such a state, even though Kun Erisher had defeated a half-step Yuan monarch elite in front of everyone. Little brother Kun Erisher, leave some leeway for us to meet again in the future. If you really force the Great Delight Casino into a dead end today, do you think you will be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor? Taifai said solemnly. I don't want fruits. I only want money. Kun Erisher said solemnly. When Taifai heard Kun Arashi's words, he felt like strangling Kun Erisher to death. Was this kid an idiot? How could this fruit be the same as that fruit? How could he be so strong, but in terms of intelligence, he was a complete idiot? Then what do you want me to do? This is all the money I have today. Otherwise, you can kill everyone in the Great Delight Casino and use their heads as payment. Tai Fei said bluntly. Some of Tai Fei's subordinates couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. This was an extremely powerful and effective method. I don't have any money, so what can you do? Just take my life. I don't have any money, so what can you do? Just take my life. After all, I don't have any money, only my life. Even if you don't have money, that's fine too. I have an idea here. Kun Erisher seemed to have expected Tai Fei to say this. Therefore, he directly smiled. Seeing Kun Arashi's smile, Tai Fei had an ominous premonition. Compared to Kun Erisher in front of him, Tai Fei felt that he wanted to face someone like Li Zongjiu more. At the very least, when he confronted Li Zongjiu, everyone was straightforward. It was a feeling of going straight to the point. However, when facing Kun Erisher, it was a feeling of opening the door and seeing the sea. Moreover, it was the kind of bottomless sea. 5 Elements Yuan Tower. The yuan bead within Li Zongjiu's body was like a spinning top, crazily spinning. It seemed as if it would break out of his body as it spun. However, it was still suppressed within Li Zongjiu's body. Therefore, when Li Zongjiu opened his eyes, the yuan bead within his body finally stopped spinning. At this moment, the yuan bead had already expanded 5 to 6 times. Furthermore, it wasn't oval like before. Instead, it looked more like a 3-dimensional prism. Both ends were sharp, and there were a total of 4 faces in the middle. On each face, there was a dragon symbol. These 4 dragon symbols were Li Zongjiu's 4 great yuan spirits. Merely breaking through to grade 5 origin ancestor realm, these 4 great yuan spirits have already absorbed too much of my yuan power. Li Zongjiu couldn't help but sigh. 2 days ago, he was only at grade 2 origin ancestor realm. Now, with this breakthrough, he was directly at grade 5 origin ancestor realm. This was equivalent to breaking through 3 grades, which was already rather powerful. No one would be able to achieve what Li Zongjiu had done in such a short period of time. He had broken through so much consecutively. However, Li Zongjiu seemed to be unsatisfied with such a result. Clearly, this wasn't the result he wanted. However, compared to before, his meridians had widened quite a bit. This made Li Zongjiu even more confident. The feeling of reaching the peak step by step was returning. After resting for a short while, Li Zongjiu walked out of the 5 Elements Yuan Tower. In the hall, there was a figure waiting for a long time. How did you know I was here? Li Zongjiu looked at Kun Erisher and asked in astonishment. The people in the casino told me. You've collected your debt. Seeing that Kun Erisher was completely unscathed, if it wasn't because he hadn't gone to collect his debt, then it was because Kun Arashi's ability was pretty good to be able to escape unscathed. You can say that. However, there's only 40 billion in cash. The rest is all here. Kun Erisher also held a stack of information in his hands. Chapter 375. What's this? Although Li Zongjiu hadn't seen what this stack of documents was, he could tell from Kun Arashi's proud expression that this thing wasn't simple. The Equity Book of Broad Joy Casino. Now, you also have a 7% say in this Broad Joy Casino. In the future, 7% of the dividends will also enter your account. Kun Erisher said excitedly. It took him a lot of effort to make Tai Fei relent. Although this price was very high in the short term, after all, so much money could be used to do many things. However, if it was exchanged for the shares of Broad Joy Casino, it would also have control over the casino and directly divide the profits of Broad Joy Casino. It was estimated that the results wouldn't be seen in a day or two, but after a long time, the accumulation of profits would be more fierce than 45 billion purple yuan. After all, this casino was opened in this place. If it wasn't for the destruction of the whole family, or even the owner behind it, there wouldn't be any problems. Moreover, if he encountered a combination like Li Zongjio and Kun Erisher, it would simply drive people crazy. Not bad, young man. Even Li Zongjio looked at Kun Erisher in surprise. He was actually able to do this to this extent. Originally, he only wanted money, but money was something that could be spent. But if it was this thing, it would be completely different. This matter wouldn't be so easy to deal with. Since you are so capable, then come with me. Li Zongjio was naturally happy. Of course, he wasn't happy because of the money. Money was something that could be obtained as much as one wanted. What he really needed was some resources. All the money would be used to exchange for resources. If you only had money in your hands, it would be completely useless. It was like a pile of stones. If you couldn't spend it, you would end up like this. Li Zongjio was happy that he had found a capable helper. Kun Arashi's performance had exceeded his expectations. This showed that Kun Arashi's ability was more powerful than Li Zongjio's expectations. In this case, of course, he was even happier. It seemed that Kun Erisher was also a suitable person to be trained. What is your goal? Li Zongjio asked as they walked. Kun Erisher didn't ask Li Zongjio where they were going. Of course it's to spread the prestige of my Kun castle and spread the name of my Kun Erisher. Kun Erisher said. His eyes were also filled with a fiery fighting spirit. It seemed that for this belief, he wouldn't hesitate even if he were to fall into eternal damnation. As long as he could make Kun Castle famous in the world, no one would be able to trample on the dignity of Kun Castle wantonly. Anyone who heard the name of Kun Castle would also lower their head. I can help Kun Castle become the strongest city in the world. Even the Sacred Flame Royal City can't be compared to it. Li Zongjio said faintly. When these words came out of Li Zongjio's mouth, Kun Erisher felt a sense of familiarity. It was just like when he said that he would kill Hu Fei in front of the White Blaze Mountain. It was so understated and so simple. However, it didn't make people believe it. After all, it was something that was really difficult for people to carry out. However, later on, Li Zongjio used his strength to prove what it meant to do what he said. If he said that he would take your life, then he definitely wouldn't kill a single dog of yours. If he said that he would kill you, then he would kill you. There was no room for discussion. Now, Kun Castle was no longer as powerful as it was in the past. It even had a feeling that it was difficult for it to gain a firm foothold among the many first-rate cities. It had fallen to such a state because of its lack of successors. The new generation's ability to produce blood wasn't as powerful as the Shenyang dynasties. After all, they weren't on the same level in terms of numbers. Unless, a person who stood at the peak appeared in Kun Castle. Only then would they be able to redeem Kun Castle's prestige from the edge of the cliff. The reason why Kun Erisher walked out of Kun Castle so resolutely was because of this goal. Is that true? Kun Erisher looked into Li Zongjio's eyes and said in a deep voice. Anyone who heard the conversation between the two would only think that it was a joke between children. However, Kun Erisher knew that Li Zongjio did indeed have the strength. Even if he didn't have it now, he would definitely have it in the future. Or even stronger. Li Zongjio's strength was definitely not as simple as it appeared on the surface. Even what he displayed on the surface was already not simple. Whether it's true or not, just follow me. Li Zongjio maintained his mystery. After all, Kun Erisher was not a child. He was not like San Tong, who did not have high expectations. Therefore, if he wanted to subdue this Kun Erisher, he would need to show his true strength. Kun Erisher did not say anything else. He followed Li Zongjio into a mansion. On the high railing of the mansion, there was a plaque with 3 words engraved on it. Lone Moon Mansion. Who goes there? Seeing this, the Lone Moon Mansion's guard immediately shouted at the two strangers in a low voice. "Go and tell your master that Li Zongjio is here." Li Zongjio looked at the guards in front of him and said calmly. The two guards looked at each other. They had never heard of a young master called Li Zongjio. However, from the other party's attitude, he did not seem to be simple. They did not dare to offend the young people in the palace. Perhaps the person who walked out in plain clothes and straw sandals was the prince or something like that. Finally, one of them turned and went in to report. After that person left, Li Zongjio also walked in directly. He saw that Li Zongjio seemed to be trying to force his way in. The guard immediately wanted to pull out the long sword at his waist and stop Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio directly pushed out his palm. There was a distance of 2 to 3 meters between them, so there was no direct contact. However, this palm was enough to send the guard flying. With a bang, he fell directly into the mansion and fell to the ground, completely dead. Kuan Erisher looked at the corpse on the ground. Although he was a little surprised, he did not show much emotion. It was just a murder. Kuan Erisher had killed many people. Now, it seemed that this family had a grudge against Li Zongjio. Lone Moon Mansion. If he remembered correctly, there was only one Lone Moon Mansion in the entire Holy Flame Royal City. It was the mansion of the second young master of the Yi family, Yi Lone Moon. Since Kuan Erisher came to the royal city to explore, of course, he would not just walk in with a spear. In fact, before he came, he had already made sufficient preparations and done his research. In the royal city, the Yi family was the most untouchable family. Some time ago, Yi Guxing's death shook the entire city. Now, the Yi family and the Sima family were fighting both openly and secretly. Yi Lone Moon was the second young master of the Yi family. In the end, if anything happened to Yi Lone Moon, the Yi family would go completely crazy. Yi Lantian only had 2 sons. Of course, there were also many children of concubines. However, they did not have any status in the mansion. It was already very good that they could live well. Li Zongjio was here to provoke the Yi family. Could it be that Li Zongjio was on the Sima family's side? Kuan Erisher did not speak. Because when Li Zongjio walked in, the door behind him had already closed automatically with a bang. When Li Zongjio walked into the garden in the front courtyard, more than 10 swordsmen immediately rushed out from the row houses on both sides. "How dare you come to Lone Moon Mansion? Take him down." A man stood under the roof and shouted in a low voice. This man was considered one of Yi Lone Moon's hangers-on. He was one of the more important hangers-on. As mentioned before, the idea of sending people to capture San Tong came from this man. When the guard reported, he was also the first to report to him. That Li Zongjio actually dared to come to his door. He was simply too audacious. He had come to his own death. Otherwise, this Li Zongjio would not be able to negotiate. This was simply impossible. Therefore, this hangers-on directly ordered the guards in the mansion to immediately form a formation and take down Li Zongjio. They would take down this Li Zongjio and deliver his head to Yi Lone Moon to receive a reward. Because Yi Lone Moon did not have a position in the imperial court, he was not considered an official. The machete men in the manor were not organized. They were all idle machete men in the Jianghu. They could only wear uniform, but not armor. Similar to the Hidden Moon Guards, they were not allowed to see the light of day. If the imperial court wanted to investigate these private soldiers, they would have to disperse them after they were caught. They might even have to throw the owner of the mansion into prison. However, Yi Lone Moon had the support of the Yi family. Therefore, this was not a big deal at all. Kill. Dozens of murderous auras instantly rushed towards Li Zongjio. These heroes of the Jianghu were basically people who killed without batting an eyelid. They were quite ruthless. They more or less bore the burden of some human lives. Facing these people rushing towards him, Li Zongjio merely raised his hand. Boom! Dozens of obsidian flames instantly appeared in the minds of these people, controlling their minds. Li Zongjio snapped his fingers. Bang! 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 The heads of these swordsmen instantly exploded on the spot with a bang. The skin and flesh above their necks were all burned to ashes, leaving behind a white skull. It was still attached to the neck. Everyone's bodies fell to the ground. In an instant, dozens of lives were taken. Seeing this scene, the hanger-on was instantly terrified. He wanted to scream, but his head was smashed by Li Zongjio's palm. Bang! Dead. Chapter 376. When Yi Lone Moon had just heard from his subordinates that Li Zongjio had arrived, he had already heard the commotion coming from the front yard. "Good lad, how dare you come straight to my residence? I'd like to see how powerful you are." A cold light flashed across Yi Lone Moon's eyes. He had received an order from his father to kill Li Zongjio, but had yet to complete it. It was really embarrassing. He did not even have the face to report to his father. However, Yi Lone Moon did not even know what Li Zongjio looked like. Therefore, he was very curious about what kind of person Li Zongjio was. Just as Yi Lone Moon got up and was about to meet Li Zongjio, he heard a few whistling sounds. A few figures flew in from the door and fell to the ground, breaking the tables and chairs. Bang bang. These were the guards of his residence. When Yi Lone Moon saw this scene, he was shocked. Captain Hu. One of them was the head of the guards of this residence. He was highly skilled in martial arts and was also a Sky Origin Grandmaster. However, at this moment, there seemed to be a small charred hole in his chest. The green smoke rising from the hole was also clearly visible. He was dead. "Who is Yi Lone Moon? Get out here." A clamor came from outside the door. Yi Lone Moon still had 2 personal guards and 3 aides. When they heard Li Zongjio's voice, one of the aides said to Yi Lone Moon, "Young master, this person is Li Zongjio." "Nonsense, he has already killed his way to the door." "Who else could it be?" Yi Lone Moon roared. Could it be that he, Yi Lone Moon, was really that stupid? "Yuin, Yu Sha, the 2 of you, bring his head to me," Yi Lone Moon said to the man and woman behind him. Yuin and Yu Sha. The man was called Yu Sha, and the woman was called Yuin. These 2 people were not trained by Yi Lone Moon. Instead, he was a personal guard sent by the Yi clan. The strength of the 2 could only be described as unfathomable. Usually, they did not take orders from Yi Lone Moon, so Yi Lone Moon had no right to command them. However, at such a critical moment, they had no choice but to take action. Even if Yi Lone Moon did not say anything, the 2 would definitely take action. The 2 of them immediately walked out of the house. To fight Li Zongjio. Yi Lone Moon was still a little worried. That Li Zongjio actually dared to kill his way into his territory, which meant that he had real skills. He had to be prepared. Otherwise, what if this Li Zongjio was really powerful? To the back of the mountain. The back mountain was usually a forbidden area because there was a powerful cultivator who was specially sent by Yi Lantian to protect Lone Moon Mansion. However, this powerful cultivator had never appeared before. Even Yi Lone Moon did not know who this person was. Only when the Lone Moon Mansion was on the brink of destruction would he appear and turn the tide. Just like the 2 powerful cultivators who died in the secret chamber in Yi Lone Moon's mansion. In fact, their individual strength was not weaker than Shui Zhang's. However, in front of Li Zongjio, they did not have the slightest ability to fight back. This was because they were directly poisoned to death by Li Zongjio's poison. If he used the same method, he would naturally be able to kill everyone in Lone Moon Mansion. However, now that Li Zongjio's strength had broken through, he was no longer afraid. He had to use his actions to tell the Yi clan that if they provoked Li Zongjio, they could only wait for their deaths. Keep a low profile and do things in a high profile. Li Zongjiu and Kun Erisher stood in the courtyard. There were already close to 30 corpses lying on the ground. Those who attacked Li Zongjiu were basically killed by Li Zongjiu. Not a single one was spared. The 2 corpses that were kicked in just now were also a form of demonstration. However, Yi Longmoon did not come out. The ones who came out were 2 extremely ugly-looking malefic stars. Courting death. When the 2 of them saw Li Zongjiu, they did not waste any time and drew out the weapons at their waists. At the same time, their bodies were also surrounded by primordial qi. Behind the 2 of them, there were 2 virtual shadows. A type of pitch-black giant snake. It's the Hell Snake. Kun Erisher could not help but say. The Hell Snake was a type of primordial beast that was produced in the underworld mountain. This primordial beast was very strange and was extremely good at camouflage. It was simply a natural killer in the dark. To obtain the Hell Snake's primordial spirit was almost an impossible task. It was precisely because it was so difficult to obtain that the power of the Hell Snake was enough to make one's heart tremble. The 2 of them are so young, but they have the Hell Snake's primordial spirit. They must be from the Yi family's Dark Knight army. Kun Erisher had only heard of this army. It could be considered as half in the light and half in the dark because Yi family's Yi Lantian had the right to control a private army. However, when it was announced to the public, it was not so powerful. It could be seen that the Yi family had hidden it very well. Boom! Li Zongjiu directly stretched out his hand and swung it easily. The flying knife flew towards the 2 of them. Yu Yin and Yu Sha both clearly saw each other's attack. The flying knife's sharpness could be felt, but there was no way for them to block it. Not good. The flying knife, which was as thin as a cicada's wing, easily pierced through the Hell Snake behind the 2 of them. Chi! Chi! The moment the flying knife pierced through the Hell Snake, it also brought about an extremely strong killing power to their bodies. Their entire heads felt as if they had been chopped by a heaven-splitting axe. Their minds were in a mess. When they opened their eyes, they already saw a pitch-black hammer coming towards their heads. Bang! Bang! Li Zongjiu smashed the 2 men's heads into coconut shells, 1 for each of them with each hand. The 2 of them were killed before they could even make a move. The speed at which the battle ended was too fast. So powerful. Kun Erisher was shocked when he saw this scene. He originally thought that he was not as talented as Li Zongjiu in alchemy. However, in terms of combat strength, there were very few people in the world who could be compared to the young man from Kun Castle. However, when he saw Li Zongjiu's attack this time, Kun Erisher knew that he was wrong. Li Zongjiu's strength seemed to be on par with his. In fact, Kun Erisher could not guarantee that he would be able to dodge the flying knife just now. The strength of the 2 soldiers from the Dark Knight army should be at grade 5 origin ancestor realm. In addition to the might of the Hell Snake, even a grade 7 origin ancestor would have to retreat. However, Li Zongjiu simply did not give them a chance to display their strength. Furthermore, this move was extremely easy to kill. Even until now, Kun Erisher still did not know what exactly Li Zongjiu's Yuan spirit was. At the Sky Origin Ancestor realm, anyone who possessed a Yuan spirit would usually subconsciously summon the power of their Yuan spirit when they faced a threat during a battle. Otherwise, if the opponent attacked too quickly, they would simply not be able to react in time and they would not even know how they died. As for Li Zongjiu, he hadn't used his primordial spirit all along the way. It was not that Li Zongjiu did not have a Yuan spirit, but the current situation was not enough to force out Li Zongjiu's Yuan spirit. Trying to run. Li Zongjiu looked in the direction of the back mountain of Lone Moon Mansion. Immediately, he leaped and landed in front of the back mountain courtyard. Yi Lone Moon was shocked when he saw Li Zongjiu before him. How could he have arrived so quickly? Given the skills of Yin Yu and Yin Sha, how could they be so fast? Koan Erasure followed closely behind. Seeing Li Zongjiu come with helpers, Yi Lonmun's heart could not help but waver a little. Usually, he, Yi Lonmun, could be said to be a tyrant. This was because he had a very powerful father as his backing. However, he realized that this Li Zongjiu before him did not seem to be afraid at all. He did not care about the power of his Yi family and directly came to kill him. Such an arrogant thing was simply unbelievable to Yi Lonmun. You must be Yi Lonmun. Li Zongjiu saw the timid look on Yi Lonmun's face. It was almost the same as when Yi Guxing died. It seemed like the Yi family was just like this. Koan Erasure saw that Yi Lonmun was about to wet his pants and sighed in his heart. The foundation that Yi Lantian had painstakingly built was actually going to fall into the hands of such a person. However, Koan Erasure was also very curious. He wanted to know what Li Zongjiu wanted to do. You. What do you want to do? This is the Holy Flame Imperial City, how dare you touch me? My Yi family will definitely not let you off. Yi Lonmun roared at Li Zongjiu. Even the words he said were almost the same as what Yi Guxing said that day. Your Yi family is courting death. How can I not send you on your way? Li Zongjiu said indifferently. In the next moment, the murderous aura in his body bloomed. Blood Spirit World. A murderous aura filled the air and rushed towards Yi Lonmun. Yi Lonmun suddenly opened his eyes wide in fright. However, he saw that this imposing aura was not coming towards him, but towards the rockery behind him and suddenly blasted towards it. Boom! In an instant, rubble flew everywhere. A loud boom sounded and a figure walked out from the rubble. Following the appearance of this figure, the restless energy seemed to have gradually calmed down. Young man, where it is possible to let people off, one should spare them. My Yi family members are not people you can kill as you wish, an old voice resounded in the sky. Chapter 377. Koan Erasure felt a sense of crisis when he heard this voice. This sense of crisis caused Lan Kuan's heart to tremble. The hair on his body stood on end. Oh no, it's a Yuan monarch elite. Yuan monarch realm. Even this sentence could ignite the sense of crisis in Koan Arashi's body. Koan Arashi's bloodline immediately sensed the dangerous aura and instinctively wanted to leave. Only a Yuan monarch elite could bring about such a terrifying threat and make Koan Erasure want to leave urgently. Yi Lonmun was overjoyed when he heard this voice. If it had been someone else, Yi Lonmun would not have been so excited. However, the old man who walked out was someone Yi Lonmun was very familiar with. Uncle Black. Why are you here? A black-robed elder walked out and came to Yi Lonmun's side. Yi Lonmun shouted excitedly. This Uncle Hay in front of him was called Hay Tuesday. He had once been by his father's side and was practically his father's right-hand man. In the Yi clan, he also had an extremely high speaking power. If Uncle Black was outside, he would be representing Yi Lantian's intentions. He was also a Yuan monarch elite. Yi Lonmun did not expect his father to send Uncle Black to protect him. This made Yi Lonmun a little excited because this meant that his father valued him. Your father is worried that the Sima family will harm you. Therefore, I have been staying in your mansion for the past few days. He too smiled faintly. However, when he looked at Li Zongjiu, his eyes were filled with killing intent. His gaze was filled with murderous intent. His gaze was like a knife, as if he wanted to slice off Li Zongjiu's flesh bit by bit. The Sima family did not come, but these two brats came instead. Tell me, who sent you? He too said nonchalantly. He seemed to have entered the interrogation stage. Given his strength as a Yuan king, if he could not even deal with these two brats, how could he continue living in this world? In He Tu's opinion, they would not have dared to barge into Lonmun's mansion without any support. Who exactly gave them the courage to do so? If you tell me the truth, I can consider leniency. If you all refuse to confess, then do not blame this old senior for being too vicious and ruthless. He Tu threatened the two of them. Although Kuan Erisher did not fall for this trick, he knew that He Tu's strength was rather terrifying. He had already reached the Yuan monarch level. The two of them would definitely be at a disadvantage today. Therefore, Kuan Erisher also took a small step forward. Let's retreat now. I am confident that I can stop him. Kuan Erisher said in a low voice. He wanted to let Li Zongjiu leave first while he brought up the rear. He was also confident that he could stop He Tu before he realized his strength. However, once He Tu was truly enraged, even Kuan Erisher would be helpless. Just wait and see. Li Zongjiu said nonchalantly, hinting for Kuan Erisher to relax. Then, he looked at He Tu, who was in front of him. Since it's not easy for you to cultivate, I can show you a path. Kill that Yilong Moon, then give me your soul and become my servant. If you don't, I will destroy your soul and you will have no room for regret. He Tu laughed when he heard that Li Zongjiu was not only not surrendering, but was also very stubborn. This made He Tu feel that it was ridiculous. Were all the young people nowadays so arrogant and arrogant? Did they think that they had the ability to dominate the world just because they had defeated a few weaklings? That would be too hilarious. He Tu could not help but laugh. I want to see how long a person like you can be so stubborn. Yilong Moon sneered in his heart. This Li Zongjiu was really an extremely stupid fellow. Uncle He was a Yuan monarch, which was enough to make him famous in this city. Yet, he still wanted Uncle He to listen to him. This was simply brainless arrogance. Let's see how you can still be so stubborn when Uncle He knocks all your teeth out later. What an idiot. Yilong Moon relaxed and started to mock Li Zongjiu with the people around him. He Tu also stopped talking nonsense with Li Zongjiu. Enjoy your death. He Tu let out a low roar. In an instant, the Yuan power within He Tu's body was released. Immediately, an intense storm swept across the courtyard. Under the ravaging of the storm, it was difficult to open one's eyes. At the same time, an extremely dangerous aura was transmitted over. Kuan Erisher also saw He Tu's primordial spirit in the black wind. Level 5 primordial spirit, Black Nightmare. The existence of the Black Nightmare incubus was like a nightmare, but this nightmare could cause people to have a mental breakdown. Kuan Erisher had never thought that the primordial spirit that the other party possessed was actually such a troublesome primordial beast. The Black Nightmare demon looked like a black horse, but it had a mouth like a crocodile. When it opened its mouth, it was as if a nightmare had struck, and a dark storm devoured the world. This force enveloped Li Zongjiu and Kuan Erisher. Kuan Erisher immediately released his original spirit, but it was only to protect his body. At the same time, he also became vigilant to not be killed by the other party. Li Zongjiu, who was in front of him, simply stood on the spot without moving under such a terrifying force. Even when the other party's nightmare attack landed on top of Li Zongjiu's head, there was still no movement. Scared silly, right? I thought you were so powerful. He Tu's cold laughter rippled, and instantly swallowed Li Zongjiu into the nightmare beast's stomach. Boom! Kuan Erisher, who was behind him, was shocked when he saw this scene. Fuck! Li Zongjiu. He originally thought that Li Zongjiu would have some ultimate move to deal with it, but this guy just stood there in a daze, allowing himself to be swallowed. Once swallowed, one would definitely fall into an endless nightmare. It would directly cause one's mental state to collapse, and no one would be able to save you. He thought that he was a king, but it turned out to be a bronze. You should have told me earlier so that I could have saved you earlier. He Tu was also extremely disdainful. Li Zongjiu had been dealt with so easily. Fortunately, he had released his origin spirit. He originally wanted to play with this guy and look forward to what changes would occur. He hadn't made a move for many years. It wouldn't be bad if he encountered an interesting enemy when he made a move today. However, Li Zongjiu's performance made everyone's jaws drop. Come back. You want me to sacrifice my soul with such a level of strength? Where did your courage come from? He Tu waved his hand, ready to summon the nightmare beast, but the nightmare beast just turned around, and its body froze on the spot. In the next moment, the nightmare beast actually soared into the sky. What are you doing? He Tu couldn't help but exclaim when he saw the nightmare beast's strange actions. However, what responded to He Tu was a tearing and explosive sound. Boom! What? He Tu watched helplessly as his darkness nightmare was blasted into smithereens. At the same time, a ray of blood-red light bloomed from the shattered black gas. The energy of the nightmare beast didn't escape far. Originally, the energy would have returned to He Tu's body, and it would have recovered sooner or later with the nourishment of the Yuan force. However, one of the energy was directly caught by the bloody claw and thrown into its mouth. When everyone saw the appearance of the blood-red light, their mouths were wide open, and their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. This is a dragon soul. Kun Erishur saw the figure that Li Zongjiu was stepping on. His heart was in a perilous situation. The original spirit that he was stepping on was a blood-red dragon soul. It was rumored that the primordial spirits of the dragon clan were all above emperor level. They were rank 6 primordial beasts the moment they were born. They were even more powerful and terrifying than primordial beasts of the same level in the rank 6 realm. As for the original spirits of the dragon clan, they were only seen in some ancient inheritances. Some ancient bloodlines might be able to give birth to the original spirits of the dragon clan. Other than that, they could only obtain the corresponding ability by killing some origin beasts of the lesser dragon clan. Judging from the aura of the blood dragon under Li Zongjiu's feet, Kun Erishur was 100% sure that it was an extremely pure aura of the dragon clan's bloodline. The Kun in his body was intimidated by the blood dragon in front of him. At the very least, it couldn't fight with it now. So, this is your trump card. Kun Arashi's eyes were filled with shock. Li Zongjiu's future potential was limitless, and he would at least reach the origin emperor realm. It might even be possible for him to reach the legendary sovereign realm. Original spirit of the dragon clan. You. Who exactly are you? He Tu couldn't care less that his original spirit had been killed. Looking at the blood dragon that was releasing a terrifying aura under Li Zongjiu's feet, he was extremely shocked. He didn't expect that there would be someone in the world who could possess the power of the original spirit of the dragon clan. A dead man doesn't need to know too much. Li Zongjiu said faintly. The blood dragon under his feet instantly charged towards He Tuesday. Boom. The blood dragon swooped down with Li Zongjiu. He Tu also reacted. Now wasn't the time to be shocked. So what if you are a dragon? You are merely at the origin ancestor realm. Today, let me have a taste of slaying a dragon. Chapter 378. He Tu shouted angrily. A large and heavy butcher knife appeared in his hand. Facing the incoming attack, he immediately activated the power in his hand. Yuan King level Yuan Qi was released frantically and instantly formed a tyrannical Yuan Qi shield around his body. Boom! The blood dragon hit the Yuan force shield with a ferocious and regretful look in its eyes. After its attack was blocked, it swung its tail and smashed the Yuan force shield into pieces. Boom! Blood spirit plane. Li Zongjiu said faintly. The blood dragon under his feet instantly turned into a blood curtain, wrapping around He Tu and the rest. The blood spirit world was filled with baleful blood aura. Even if one took a breath, one would feel an intense pain, as though one was being cut by a knife. The 2 aides beside Yi Lone Moon took 2 deep breaths before they spat out blood and died. The terrifying evil Qi in the blood spirit world had already shattered their internal organs. A ray of light automatically emerged from Yi Lonman's chest, protecting him. It was the protective jade. Under the protection of the protective jade, Yi Lonmun was able to move freely. Damn it, break! He too seemed to have sunk into a quagmire. The butcher knife in his hand was frantically slashing at a spot in the blood spirit plane. Boom! Even though he was a Yuan King level martial artist, his attack did not work. The blood in his body seemed to be strongly drawn, as if it was about to be sucked out. Moreover, this feeling came from all directions. He could not block it. He could not block it at all. Moreover, accompanied by a sense of anxiety and irritation, He too even had a feeling that he might die here today. Impossible. I won't die. I won't die. He too roared in his heart. How can I die like this? I must kill my way out. I am a Yuan King level martial artist. How can I not be able to deal with this brat in front of me? He too roared. He had gone through so many hardships in his life to finally break through to this level. He could not give up so easily. He too immediately took out an elixir pill and stuffed it into his mouth. Gulp. When the elixir entered He too's throat, a surge of power erupted from his body. I used the power of the Fallen Meridian pill to forcibly raise my cultivation by 1 level. Kill him. Fallen Meridian pill. Li Zongjiu was naturally familiar with this type of pill. If this pill was swallowed, it would directly break a meridian in the body. With such a price, it would help the current Li Zongjiu directly increase his strength. Only if it was not a solution would one consume this kind of medicinal pill. After all, there was a possibility that it could not be repaired, and there would be no way to recover in the future. This was the most painful price to pay. However, compared to losing one's life, losing one's meridian was a very small price to pay. Boom! He too's aura instantly soared to that of a second-stage Yuan monarch. Ever since he had broken through to the Yuan monarch realm, he had not been able to make any further breakthroughs. Originally, breaking through to the Yuan monarch realm required a lot of time and effort. If he did not have the right opportunity, it would basically be impossible for him to break through to the Yuan monarch realm. Forcibly raising one's cultivation by 1 level was already an earth-shattering change. He too even believed that it would not be difficult for him to kill his previous self in an instant given his current state. Therefore, he was even more confident when facing Li Zongjiu. This blood-spirit plane was extremely difficult to deal with. He too once again condensed his aura and abruptly spread it in all directions. Boom! He too once again slashed at a part of the blood-spirit plane. However, the moment He too made his move, Li Zongjiu raised his hand and opened up the boundary of the blood-spirit plane. He too's attack directly penetrated the boundary. One could see that the house that belonged to Li Zongjiu instantly collapsed. What? When He too's attack ended, Li Zongjiu once again closed the blood-spirit plane. His body was not affected at all. This ingenious method easily avoided the previous head-on clash and neutralized the opponent's powerful attack. Child's play. Let me give you another slash then. Just as He too was about to attack again, he saw a figure rushing in front of He too suddenly threw a punch. Under such circumstances, the air in front of him was shattered. Boom! He too's body trembled. Li Zongjiu's punch landed on He too's chest. He too also used his own body's origin power to block this powerful attack. The corners of He too's mouth curled into a cold smile. With just your fist, you can't even break through my origin power defense, let alone my body armor. Oh. Is that so? Li Zongjiu glanced at He too in front of him. When he retracted his hand, He too felt a sharp pain in his chest. He saw that Li Zongjiu's fist was actually holding a small knife. When the punch landed on He too's body, the knife had already easily pierced through his body. However, because the knife was too sharp, the Yuan power in He too's body could not react in time. It easily pierced through his body. It was truly terrifying. When Li Zongjiu saw this, the corners of his mouth curled up into a cruel smile. He's here to kill, not to play tricks with you. Under He Tu's astonished gaze, fresh blood spurted out from his chest. Then, Li Zongjiu's fingers controlled the vast flying knife. With a light shake, it directly sliced open He Tu's throat. Qi. The yuan power in He Tu's body continuously spread out. When his body was sliced open, the fresh blood in his body also continuously merged with the surrounding blood-spirit plane. Soon, He Tu was sucked into the blood-spirit world. It was not that He Tu was not strong enough, but Li Zongjiu's method was too strong. Your tyrannical elemental energy is of no use to Li Zongjiu. This kind of strength did not surpass Li Zongjiu's by much, so it was not difficult for Li Zongjiu to ignore the gap. In addition, Li Zongjiu's yuan spirit was too powerful. It was an extremely easy move to destroy the other party. There was no need for so much nonsense when it came to fighting. He watched helplessly as a yuan king died right in front of his eyes. The shock in his heart couldn't be any greater. How could a yuan monarch be killed? This was too unbelievable. Yi Longmoon was a disciple of the Yi family. However, as far as he knew, a yuan monarch was already in existence that looked down on the world. Even if he could not defeat them, escaping would not be a problem. Why would he be killed by Li Zongjiu directly after encountering Li Zongjiu? Such an outcome was really hard to accept. How could a yuan monarch be killed just like that? Li Zongjiu sighed softly when he saw the shock and fear in Yi Longmoon's eyes. A family like the Yi family would never be able to prosper. The two sons were basically useless. Anyway, no matter how hard the Yi family worked, nothing good would happen. You should be happy that I, Li Zongjiu, am sending you on your way. How long can this amulet of yours last? Li Zongjiu said faintly. He felt very happy when he saw the terrified look on Yi Longmoon's face. This was how an enemy should behave in front of Li Zongjiu. You can't kill me. You can't kill me. My father won't let you off. My father is the Minister of Justice. If you kill me, you will have nowhere to run. Let me go and I will plead for you in front of my father. I will never provoke you in the future. Yi Longmoon said hurriedly. He watched as Li Zongjiu approached him step by step. At the same time, his amulet was gradually weakening at this moment. It seemed to be peeling off layer by layer, and all the power was dissipating. Eventually, Yi Longmoon's body was completely exposed before Li Zongjiu. In response, Li Zongjiu raised his hand gently. He easily twisted Yi Longmoon's neck. He did not take Yi Longmoon's pleading to heart. What was the use of a useless person's words? The blood-soul world retreated. Kun Erisher, who was behind, saw everything clearly. Even He Tu died in the hands of Li Zongjiu. Most importantly, the outside world seemed to know nothing about what happened in Longmoon Mansion. Logically speaking, this place should have been surrounded by the special envoys of Monarch City. No figure could be seen. Killing a son is far from enough. But I've had enough fun today. Let's go. Li Zongjiu placed Yi Longmoon's head on a table in the courtyard. Kun Erisher was fearful of Li Zongjiu's mysterious and powerful strength, but he was also quite excited. Such a dangerous action was exactly what Kun Erisher was after. The stimulation of the strong. He would not be ordinary in this life. Kun Erisher did not come to Monarch City to live a peaceful life. He came here to stir up trouble. From now on, you are my boss. Kun Erisher said to Li Zongjiu. Being able to convince a genius like Lan Kun was not an easy thing to do. Chapter 379. Coming out of Longmoon Mansion. Kun Erisher then saw that Li Zongjiu had pasted a talisman on the door before entering Longmoon Mansion. There were some elemental inscriptions on the talisman. Although there were elemental inscriptions experts in Kuan Castle, Kuan Erisher could not understand the purpose of this elemental inscription talisman. However, when Kuan Erisher turned around to look at Lone Moon Mansion, he was shocked. However, they were shocked to discover that Lone Moon Mansion looked completely intact from the outside. It was hard to believe that a bloody massacre had taken place in Lone Moon Mansion. Even a Yuan monarch elite had been buried in the process. If anyone dared to approach this place and discover the situation inside, they would definitely be shocked beyond words. When Li Zongjiu and Kuan Erisher both returned to Heavenly Day Medicine Manor, the incident at Lone Moon Mansion had just been discovered. The talisman pasted on the door had also disappeared without a trace. When the talisman disappeared, the smell of blood in Lone Moon Mansion began to spread. Someone had sensed the situation here, and Lone Moon Mansion was immediately surrounded by a large group of special envoys. Special Envoy Department. Deputy Minister Su Yen stood at the scene to investigate. Lone Moon Mansion had already been sealed off by Su Yen and no one was allowed to approach. The situation was even worse than the incident at Yi Guxing's mansion. Someone actually dared to attack the last son of the Yi family. This made Su Yen feel like his head was about to explode. The Special Envoy Department's immediate superior was the Sima family. The relationship between the Sima family and the Yi family had never been very good. Now that such a situation had occurred, the Sima family could not escape responsibility. However, the Sima family was not afraid of these things and immediately ordered the Special Envoy Department to investigate this matter. In order to prevent the Yi family from going around biting people, they could only answer to the Yi family after investigating this matter. Su Yen immediately mobilized 3 teams and handed in some preliminary reports. Now, the Minister of the Special Envoy Department was also having a meeting with the Sima family elders to discuss this matter. Even He too is dead. Who did this? Under the Emperor's feet, this person must have a powerful background. In fact, when Su Yen saw He Tu die here, he almost didn't dare to believe it. This was a Yuan King level elite of the Yi family. Now, he had died here just like that. To the Yi clan, this was a huge loss. There were not many people in the city who could kill He Tuesday. Such a thorny matter had fallen on Su Yan's head. Even if he really managed to track it down, what could he do? In the end, he might even be sacrificed. There was no need to be too serious when doing things in Royal City. If one was too serious, then it was possible that one would lose one's life. Su Yen would not do such a thing where the gains did not make up for the losses. After all, he was not the young man of the past. Vice Division Head, I've already checked the surrounding area. There are no traces of other people. The 3 streets nearby are considered restricted areas. Very few people go near them. There were no witnesses either. The 2 people who died in the middle courtyard had their primordial spirits extinguished. This person's cultivation is at least at the Yuan monarch realm. One of Su Yan's subordinates came forward to report while taking down notes. Even when he was reporting, there was a look of excitement on his face. After all, this was a big case. If he could solve it, he would become an influential figure in the city. After making a contribution, he would naturally be able to rise up the ranks. Shuntian, this case definitely has deep implications. If you don't have the best preparation, don't act blindly. Su Yen patted the young man beside him. Dong Shuntian. After graduating from a martial arts institute, he had been recruited into the Special Envoy Department because of his excellent grades and fighting spirit. Su Yen also thought highly of Dong Shuntian. Dong Shuntian was good in every aspect. The only bad thing about him was that he was too competitive. Once he encountered a problem, he would always want to win and would never accept defeat. Yes, Shuntian will remember Sir's teachings. Sir, the people of the Yi family are here. Su Yen nodded. Who is it? It's me. At that moment, a deep voice was heard. Before this voice, almost everyone felt their hearts tremble slightly. In addition, there were two gloomy murderous auras that enveloped everyone present. Even if all these people worked together, they would definitely not be a match for the owners of these two auras. Su Yan looked over and saw Yilantian walking in with two black-robed elders. Behind the three of them, there was a tall woman with a piercingly cold face. The woman's face was as cold as frost and her eyes were cold and emotionless. However, anyone could see the trace of joy hidden in her eyes. No one would have thought that there would be people who dared to touch the descendants of the Yi family. Now that the two of them were dead, it was a very beneficial thing for Yi Ruhan, the only legitimate wife of the Yi clan. Even if she could not control all the power, the remaining people would not be able to compete with her. They were not qualified to do so. When she heard the news, Yi Ruhan did not know what was going on, so she hurried over to personally confirm the situation. Seeing that Yilantian had come personally, Su Yan quickly went forward to welcome him. Yilantian was a minister in the imperial court. In terms of organization, he was many levels higher than Su Yan. Su Yan greets Sir. Forget it, where is my son? When Yilantian arrived and saw that Yilonmun's head was placed on the table, he was instantly infuriated. His fists were tightly clenched. Although Yilantian doted on Yigushing more, Yilonmun was still his son. At this moment, his body was not intact and his head was separated from his body. Such a tragic scene made Yilantian want to chop the murderer into pieces. This was a provocation to the dignity of the Yi family. Is the Special Envoy Department capable of solving this case? Yilantian questioned. Sir, don't worry, I will go through water and tread on fire. Even if I have to dig 3 feet into the ground, I will find the murderer. Su Yan immediately said. These kind of official words were naturally very easy to say. Whether they could find out the truth or not, they would have to talk about it later. However, their attitude must be correct. If their attitude was not correct, then the consequences would be troublesome. Tell your men to withdraw. My Yi residence's matter will be handled by myself. Yilantian glanced at Su Yan and said indifferently. Sir, this is against the rules, Su Yan frowned and said. The cases in the city were naturally handed over to the Special Envoy Department to supervise. Although the person who died this time was Yilonmun, Yilantian's son, according to the procedures, the Special Envoy Department would still take over the case and conduct the investigation. Even if you are Yilantian, do you think you can change the law? You want to talk to me about the rules? Yilantian immediately walked towards Su Yan. The aura of the two black-robed men behind him seemed to be very unpleasant. Someone actually dared to disobey their sir. If they were more vicious and merciless, they would have directly stepped forward and taken the person's head. Division Chief Yi, the murderer of young Master Lonman's case will definitely not be able to escape. The Special Envoy Department will definitely arrest the suspect. Just when Su Yan realized that something was wrong, Dong Shuntian, who was beside him, took a step forward and forcefully stood in front of Yilantian. Yilantian noticed the person in front of him. Su Yan was also surprised. He did not expect Dong Shuntian to actually stand up for him. Oh. You think you can solve this case with just your mouth? Yilantian said indifferently. 7 days. If there is no progress within 7 days, Dong Shuntian, bring your head to me. Dong Shuntian said in a low voice. He actually made a military order in front of Yilantian and Su Yan. Shut up, this matter, Su Yan immediately shouted angrily and wanted to stop Dong Shuntian. Dong Shuntian seemed to be smart, but in reality, this move of his was forcing the Special Envoy Department to limit their authority to the last 7 days. It was really a stupid move. This matter is settled. I will give you 7 days. If you can't solve the case, the Yi family will not care so much. Yilantian said coldly. Then, he left with his men. Even Yilantian had no way to take Yilonmun's body away. It had to be appraised before it could be returned to the family members. For experts, there was no need for too many things. When Yilan Tian brought the two black-robed men out, he directly carried out a certain degree of understanding of the surrounding situation. Some of the information that could be gathered had already been gathered. Rohan, find the mastermind behind this. I will give you 5 days. Yilan Tian stopped walking and looked at Yi Rohan beside him as he spoke. Yi Rohan's eyes turned cold and she immediately cupped her hands. Yes, Rohan. Then, Yi Rohan directly left and did not return with Yilan Tian. The meaning of giving this task to her was very obvious. If she could complete this task, Yi Rohan's status would skyrocket in the future. While walking, Yi Rohan's face revealed an uncontrollable smile. However, under this smile was a kind of murderous intent. There was only one outcome for anyone who dared to block her path. Kill without mercy. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.